Chapter 2659 Lung Ruoxu's Rage 1. He watched Lung Ruoxu's back view and then looked at the person lying on the ground. The person guarding the teleportation array shook his head helplessly. Then, he pretended that he had not seen anything and found a place to close his eyes and rest. As for Lung Ruoxu, she was surrounded by a group of fierce-looking guards before she could even walk out of the Five Alliances territory. They even wanted to bring her to see their Alliance Master. The moment she heard the word Alliance Master, Lung Ruoxu did not resist. Instead, she cooperated and left with the guards. When Lung Xiaoqing and the others in the house saw this, they started to worry again. Someone was confused and asked curiously, "Senior Lung, who is the Alliance Master that those people are talking about?" In this place, only the Ascender Alliance is called the Alliance Leader. I just don't know which alliance this is. Lung Xiaoqing asked worriedly. Even though he had only been on the godly mainland for a short time, he had already familiarized himself with the various major factions here. The Ascender Alliance? Are you saying that the people here are the same as us? They all ascended? The person who spoke couldn't help but ask. Yes, the Ascender Alliance's members are all Ascenders. Lung Xiaoqing sighed softly. Then, don't we have found the organization? One of the Lan family members said excitedly. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he was smacked on the head. The one who had hit him was the Lan clan's great ancestor. His status was similar to Lung Xiaoqing's. Therefore, even though he was hit, the Lan clan's member did not dare to have any objections. He only looked at his great ancestor with an aggrieved expression. He didn't understand why he was beaten up just because he said one sentence. At this moment, the Lan clan's most senior elder exchanged a glance with Lung Xiaoqing before he said helplessly, "The Ascender Alliance is not a good place. You should not yearn for this place." Ugh. When everyone heard this, they were all a little dumbfounded. In the end, Lung Xiaoqing explained the situation of the Ascender Alliance to them, so that some of the young fellows would not think that this was a good place. Everyone who didn't understand the situation on the godly continent widened their eyes and mouths in disbelief. How did this happen? However, the old ancestor would definitely not lie. Old ancestor, will Shui be in danger if she faces them alone? Suddenly, Lan Lai cried out in alarm. His handsome face was still filled with worry. As soon as he said this, many people looked worriedly at the few people with the highest seniority. One should know that Lung Ruoxu was their biggest backer here. If something happened to Lung Ruoxu, what would they do? Lung Xiaoqing and Lung Xiaoxiao were also very worried about Shui's safety. Putting aside Shui's strength, it would be strange if a stunning beauty like her was not coveted by others when she was walking on the streets. Furthermore, there were many powerful players here. Their strength was nothing on the godly mainland. Furthermore, Shui was not willing to let them out, so they could not help even if they wanted to. The two of them were very worried about this situation. They couldn't help but turn their eyes to the violent little beasts, but they received a disdainful look from Baby. Then, they heard Baby say with a proud face, "How can my cute master be in danger? Oomph. Whoever offends the cute master will be in trouble." These words caused everyone to fall silent for a long time. Some of them couldn't help but think to themselves, then who was the one who saw someone taking liberties with Lung Ruoxu and was so anxious that he wanted to escape? Of course, these words could never be said. Lung Ruoxu, who had been taken away outside, was well aware of the commotion in her house. She sent a voice transmission to the crowd, telling them not to worry. Very quickly, she was brought to the front of her residence. Thanks, Lung Ruoxu lifted her beautiful eyes. From the outside, the house looked very simple and unadorned. It was not luxurious. On the plaque in the middle of the gate, two big gold-stamped words were written, "Five Alliances." When she saw these two words, Lung Ruoxu laughed in her heart. It's indeed the Five Alliances. I wonder why the Alliance Masters of the Five Alliances had sent people to capture me. Then, she followed the guard into the Alliance of Five. The interior of the Five Alliances' residence was even more desolate than it looked on the outside, but the courtyard was rather clean. After she was brought into the living room, Lung Ruoxu sat down before the Five Alliance guards could say anything. After leaving 2 guards to watch over her, the other guards left. Lung Roashua, who was sitting down, took out a teapot, a teacup, and some snacks from her bangle. She slowly savored them and then asked, "Why did your alliance master invite me here?" Looking at her smooth and natural movements, the 2 guards who were left behind twitched their mouths. This person was too. Was she treating the 5 alliances as her own home? However, in front of a beauty like Lung Ruashue, they were too embarrassed to say some harsh words. After taking a deep breath, one of the guards replied, "You've injured the young master of the Alliance Master." Alliance Master? You want to take revenge on me? Lung Ruashue did not wait for the guard to finish his sentence and interrupted. The guard didn't say anything. In fact, they didn't know how the Alliance Master would treat this beauty. However, they admired her courage because she didn't seem afraid at all. Since you want to take revenge on me, then quickly ask your Alliance Master to take action. By the way, send someone to hurry me up. My time is very precious. Lung Ruashue was minding her own business. She did not care about how the 2 guards would react after hearing her words and directly spoke her thoughts. When the 2 guards heard Lung Ruakshu's words, black lines appeared on their foreheads. They thought to themselves, "Is this person tired of living? Who would urge others to rush to their deaths?" The 2 of them could not understand. "Little girl, you're really bold." At this moment, a rather angry voice rang out from outside. Soon after, a middle-aged man strode in from outside. When the 2 guards saw that the Alliance Master had arrived, they hurriedly bowed. However, Lung Ruashue sat as steady as a mountain and continued to drink her tea. Seeing this, the Alliance Masters of the 5 alliances prepared to give Lung Ruashue a taste of her power. Who knew that when he raised his head to look at Lung Ruashue, he was suddenly stunned and his heart started to beat wildly. This person looks familiar? Why did she look so much like a certain fearsome female demon? Have we met somewhere before? The leaders of the 5 alliances asked carefully, afraid that they might have mistaken him for someone else. "We've never met," Lung Ruashue said indifferently as she took a sip of tea. What's your name?" The leaders of the 5 alliances asked. "Cole." Lung Ruakshu's words were concise. "What's Cole?" The 5 leaders continued to ask, feeling a little angry at the same time. Couldn't this brat just finish her words in one go? This was really making people anxious. Lung Ruashue. When she said these 3 words, Lung Ruashue suddenly smiled and looked at the Alliance Master of the 5 alliances. When the Alliance Master of the 5 alliances heard the nightmarish name in his memory and saw her glance at him, he was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. In the end, he couldn't support himself anymore and knelt down. Chapter 2660. Lung Ruakshu's Rage 2. When Lung Ruashue saw this, she looked at the Alliance Masters of the 5 alliances in confusion and asked, "Why are the 5 Alliance Masters bowing so heavily?" I failed to recognize Mount Tai. I hope Senior won't blame me." The Alliance Masters of the 5 alliances were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They went with the flow and knelt in front of Lung Ruashue. When the 2 guards at the side saw this scene, they were both dumbfounded. What was wrong with the Alliance Master? Why did he have to kneel down in front of this little girl and call her Senior? They couldn't figure it out, nor were they clear about Lung Ruakshu's identity. Hence, their faces were filled with bewilderment. At this moment, the Alliance Masters of the 5 alliances weren't in the mood to explain to them. They were only depressed that they had actually managed to capture Lung Ruashue. This was really unlucky. The Alliance Masters of the 5 alliances truly felt that they were unlucky. When did this goddess of slaughter come to the 5 leagues and even let him run into her? "I'm not a senior." Lung Ruashue laughed after listening to the 5 league masters. "In my heart, you are my senior." The leaders of the 5 alliances emphasized, "All right, since you've said so, it'll be impolite to refuse. However, I heard that you're here to take revenge, so let's not waste time and just attack." Lung Ruashue said with a light smile. "My ancestors. How could he dare to attack this ancestor?" The General Union had already made an announcement, telling them to avoid Lung Ruashue and not to get into a conflict with this she-devil, so he didn't dare to mention anything about revenge. He could only blame his son for being unlucky. Fortunately, his son's injuries were not serious. Otherwise, he would have been depressed to death. But now, the little ancestor in front of him was enough to make him depressed. Senior, it's a misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. The depressed leader of the 5 alliances smiled and said, "Is it really a misunderstanding?" Lung Roashua blinked her beautiful eyes and asked with uncertainty. "It must be," the leaders of the 5 alliances said with determination. "All right then, they'll just take it as a misunderstanding. By the way, was the one eye injured at the teleportation formation your son?" Lung Roashua asked curiously. "Yes." The alliance masters of the 5 alliances nodded with a constipated expression. "He was teasing me." Lung Roashua only said these 4 words and didn't say anything else. The alliance masters of the 5 alliances broke out in cold sweat after hearing what Lung Roashua said. He could not understand what she meant. Was she asking for compensation, or was she trying to take revenge on his son? To be honest, he didn't want to agree to either of them. But looking at the situation, it was not something he could control. If Lung Roashua were to fly into a rage out of humiliation, the 5 alliances would be in deep trouble. "Senior, you're thinking of the alliance master of the 5 alliances probed. Your son even asked me to compensate for his emotional damage." Lung Roashua smiled faintly. He didn't dare. He didn't dare. He'll definitely teach that stinky brat a good lesson later. The leaders of the 5 alliances quickly expressed their opinions. "Then what do you think of the things he did to me?" Lung Roashua blinked her eyes and asked innocently. "If Senior has any requests, you can just say it. As long as you spare my family's stinky brat's life, well, I only have this one brat. Senior can't bear to let me see my white-haired one see my black-haired one off, right?" The alliance masters of the 5 alliances played the emotional card, hoping that Lung Roashua would pity him. Hearing this, Lung Roakshu's beautiful eyes began to size up the 5 alliance masters. Thanks, a white-haired man sending off a black-haired man? Did it have to be so exaggerated? This alliance master of the 5 alliances looked to be in his early 40s, and he felt that he was old. Lung Roashua felt a little disdainful. She didn't want to continue scaring the alliance masters of the 5 alliances, so she said directly, "It's the father's fault for not teaching the child. Your son's character is bad, and he flirts with women from good families. You, as his father, can't escape the blame." After hearing Lung Roakshu's words, the alliance master's heart sank. Did she not want to let her son off? Not only that, but he also wanted to implicate the 5 alliances. The alliance masters of the 5 alliances started to let their thoughts run wild. After Lung Roashua deliberately paused for a moment, she changed the topic and said, "However, seeing how much you love your son, I can let your son go, but you have to help me do something." "What is it?" "As long as it's not a betrayal of the Ascender Alliance, Senior, you can speak freely." Hearing Lung Roashua say that she wouldn't pursue the matter with her son, the alliance masters of the 5 alliances immediately resurrected on the spot, as if they had been injected with chicken blood, and said with a fawning expression, "Don't worry, I won't ask you to betray the Ascender Alliance." Lung Roashua had not expected this fellow to be so loyal to the Ascender Alliance, so she replied honestly, "Then please give me your orders, Senior." The alliance masters of the 5 alliances were completely relieved. "Help me find a few people." Lung Roashua replied without even thinking. "Senior, who are you looking for?" The alliance masters of the 5 alliances did not expect that it would be so easy to find someone. However, he had a feeling that the person Lung Roashua was looking for was not that simple. Could it be that he was looking for his enemy? "It's my subordinates and my brother." After Lung Roashua finished speaking, she passed the names and portraits of Luo Xian and the others to the alliance masters of the 5 alliances. "Senior, leave this matter to me." The alliance masters of the 5 alliances took the information that Lung Roashua handed over and gave their guarantee after a quick glance. In his opinion, finding someone was the simplest thing. Then he'll thank the alliance masters of the 5 alliances first. "If you have any news, send me a voice transmission," Lung Roashua said very politely. "All right, The alliance masters quickly agreed and respectfully sent Lung Ruoxue off. Only then did he let out a long sigh of relief. He then realized that his clothes had long since been drenched in cold sweat. Sobs. The pressure that She-Devil gave off was too great. Recalling what Lung Ruoxue had instructed him to do, the alliance master of the 5 alliances did not dare to delay and quickly ordered his subordinates to search for her. Lung Ruoxue, on the other hand, was escorted out of the alliance's territory by the guards sent by the alliance masters. It was only after they had left the Ascender Alliance's territory that Lung Ruoxue moved Lung Xiaoqing and the others out. In Lung Ruoxue's words, she wanted them to experience the air and life here. However, Lung Xiaoqing and the rest who came out looked at Lung Ruoxue with complicated expressions and did not say a word. What's wrong? Lung Ruoxue could not understand. My lovely master, they've suffered a huge blow, Baby said with a look of understanding. At first, these people were worried that their cute master would be bullied. However, not only was their master unharmed, but he could even order the 5 alliance masters to do things for them. None of them had expected their master to have such a high status in the divine mainland. They were ashamed and frightened. Calm down. Lung Ruoxue only said these 2 words before giving you a look. You instantly transformed back into her original form and waited for her master to sit on it. After Lung Ruoxue sat on Yes' back, she looked at the people who were still unmoving and said helplessly, "Are you guys planning to stay here?" Hearing this, everyone immediately reacted and sat on Feather's back. "Master, are we going to Yinbei City?" You asked. When he saw Lung Ruoxue nod her head, he then flew in the direction of northern Yin City. When they arrived at the entrance of Yinbei City, the Feather landed. The city guard recognized Lung Ruoxue. The moment he saw her, he hurriedly jogged over and said respectfully, "Master, you're here." They'll send someone to inform the city lord. Chapter 2661. Lung Ruoxue's Rage 3. No, we can go in by ourselves. Lung Ruoxue smiled. The guard nodded and welcomed Lung Ruoxue and her group into the city. At this moment, Lung Xiaoqing and the others were dumbfounded. If the city guards addressed Lung Ruoxue as master, then what about the city lord? Even though they had been city lords in the Haotian continent, this place was different from the Haotian continent. Lung Ruoxue had only been here for a few years, and she already owned a city like this. They really had no idea how she had managed to survive. For a moment, Lung Xiaoqing, Lung Xiaoxiao, and the Lan family's old ancestor all felt inferior. They were both ascendants, but why was the difference so great? As expected, when they arrived at the city lord's mansion, Yin Kuan called Lung Ruoxue a master with a face full of excitement. This confirmed their guess. Now, they were obviously much calmer than when they were in the Ascender's 5 alliances. "Yin Kuan, how are you?" Lung Ruoxue asked with concern after she was led to the main seat in the living room. "I'm still all right." Yin Kun's face was filled with joy. His master's status in the divine world was so high that he didn't even put the divine masters in his eyes. Who would dare to show him any attitude? Hence, he was like a fish in water on the godly mainland. Hearing Yin Kun's words, Lung Ruoxue was relieved. Then, she introduced Yin Kuan to her subordinates, the Lung family and the Lan family. After some small talk, Yin Kuan naturally had to treat them well. At this time, Yin Kuan also knew that his master was going to bring these people to the divinity. He couldn't help but feel envious. Lung Ruoxue didn't bring him along when she saw his reaction. She only told him to let her know whenever he was no longer willing to stay in the divine mainland. Yin Kuan was overjoyed to hear this, but he couldn't leave the godly land without him, so he couldn't get there for a while. Furthermore, Yin Kuan also knew that Lung Ruoxue had a few subordinates who had come to the godly mainland by themselves. He had also expressed that he would find them as soon as possible to avoid any danger. Lung Ruoxue was confident in Yin Kun's ability. The day after the Yin clan's welcoming banquet ended, Lung Xiaoqing, Lung Xiaoxiao, and the Lan clan's eldest ancestor came to look for Lung Ruoxue. However, after seeing Lung Ruoxue, they were at a loss as to what to say. In the end, It was still the mother parasol tree who could not stand it and reproached, "If you have something to say, then say it. You don't look like a man when you're hemming and hawing." After being criticized by the mother parasol tree, Lung Xiaoqing went all out and asked directly, "Shui, aren't we living in the godly mainland?" "No." Lung Ruoxue smiled. She already knew what they wanted to ask. "Do I really have to go to that divine realm?" Lung Xiaoqing exclaimed in shock. Previously, they had already learned about this from Lung Ruoxue and Yin Kun's conversation. However, the two of them had not explained it clearly at that time. Otherwise, they would not have decided to ask about it in person after thinking for a long time. Yes, grandfather and the cheapskate old ancestor are all in the divine realm. This is only a branch of mine. Lung Ruoxue replied honestly. Upon hearing this, the three people who came to clarify the matter were so depressed that they felt ashamed. One should know that they had arrived at the divine mainland much earlier than that last Lung Ruoxue. However, she had already gone to the divine world to develop her career. They didn't dare to set foot on the divine mainland so easily. Whoa, what a difference! It was really not just a little bit worse. The three old men who had lived for a long time were so sad that they did not know what to say. Before they left, Lung Xiaoqing could not help but ask Lung Ruoxue about her abilities. When Lung Ruoxue told them that she was now a divine sovereign, the three of them were petrified. When they finally came back to their senses, the three of them left stiffly. The mother parasol tree looked at the back of the three mechanical figures and felt a little sympathy for them. Moreover, she could also imagine that Shui-Er's strength would definitely not be a light blow to these three people. "Shui-Er, you really are a monster." The mother parasol tree sighed. "Senior, I still haven't told them about your strength." Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Shui, let's keep a low profile." The mother parasol tree said helplessly. "All right, keep a low profile." Lung Ruoxue laughed and teased. For the next few days, Lung Xiaoqing and the other two, who had found out about Lung Ruoxue's strength, locked themselves in their rooms and reflected on themselves. They felt that they had been living a really sullen life. Furthermore, the longer they lived, the less they had the drive to advance. They were always afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind. As a result, until today, their strength had not improved much. Thanks, it was undeniable that Lung Ruoxue had given them quite a shock. Not to mention the other party's vast territory, just the strength of that little girl was far beyond theirs. This wave behind didn't push forward the wave in front, but directly smacked the wave in front firmly. Towards Lung Ruoxue now, they really didn't have any temper at all. After thinking for a few days, the three of them felt that they could not go on like this. Otherwise, their Lung family and land family would disappear from the divinity sooner or later. After thinking it through, the three of them came to look for Lung Ruoxue, hoping that she would allow them to enter closed-door cultivation in her house. That place was filled with spiritual energy. It was definitely a holy land for cultivation. Lung Ruoxue agreed. He then moved them into his house. Who knew that when they heard that their ancestor was in seclusion, many people from the Lan and Lung families also requested to go into seclusion. Because they had been with the people from the city lord's residence for the past few days, they had more or less heard about Lung Ruoxue's past and had been deeply affected. Lung Ruoxue naturally wouldn't stop them if they wanted to improve themselves. She happily agreed to their request. The moment they went into closed-door cultivation, the originally bustling city lord's residence instantly became quiet. However, at this moment, Lung Ruoxue had also received a voice transmission from the Ascender Alliance's leaders. Together with the mother parasol tree, they rushed over to the 5 alliances. Seeing Lung Ruoxue again, the alliance masters of the 5 alliances still felt immense pressure, especially now that there was a beautiful woman with unfathomable strength by her side. The alliance masters of the 5 alliances felt that they could not even breathe smoothly. Sob, why are women so powerful these days? Each and every one of them was stronger than a man. How can a man live? The alliance masters of the 5 alliances looked at Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree with sorrow and resentment. They wished they could hide in a corner and draw circles. This was too much of a blow to them, wasn't it? Lung Ruoxue couldn't stand the other party's sudden coyness. She said impatiently, "Didn't you say there's news? Where are they?" Hearing this, the leader of the 5 alliances immediately became alert and said carefully, "Senior, after I tell you their whereabouts, you must hold back and not be angry." The alliance masters of the 5 alliances were afraid that Lung Ruoxue would smash the 5 alliances into pieces in a fit of anger. After all, he was definitely innocent. He didn't want to bear Lung Ruoxue's anger for someone else. "Speak." Lung Ruoxue's lion-like roar scared the alliance masters of the 5 alliances so much that they were trembling. Immediately after, the alliance masters of the 5 alliances handed Lung Ruoxue a few pieces of paper. On them were the whereabouts of Luo Xian and the others. Lung Ruoxue took a look at it, and her face turned black. How detestable! Luo Xian and the others were indeed in the Ascender Alliance. In the past, the reason why she had asked the 5 alliances masters to help her find people was that she felt that the chances of Luo Xian and the others coming to the Ascender Alliance were very high. After all, everyone was an Ascender, and they would naturally have a good impression of such an organization. But now, they were sending sheep into the tiger's mouth. 3 alliances. 4 alliances. Luo Xian and the others were in these 2 alliances. Not only did they have a difficult life, but they were also forced to become slaves. This was something that Lung Ruoxue could not tolerate. If you dare to touch her subordinates, you must be prepared to pay the price. Lung Ruoxue was furious. The consequences would be dire. When the alliance masters of the 5 alliances saw Lung Ruoxue's expression turn ugly, they were so scared that they did not even dare to breathe. However, they could understand Lung Ruoxue's feelings. If it was anyone else who knew that their subordinates were living a life worse than a pig or a dog, who wouldn't be angry? One must know that when he first saw the information that his subordinate had sent back, he was already a little angry, let alone Lung Ruoxue, who was directly involved. Sigh. He truly felt that he was too kind compared to the people from the 3rd and 4th alliances. At the very least, he had never done anything that caused others to detest him. At the same time, he was glad that he had not offended Lung Ruoxue because of his son. Otherwise, his ending would not be any better than the 2 alliances. After some thought, the leader of the 5 alliances couldn't help but ask, "Senior, what do you plan to do?" Lung Ruoxue's face was cold, and she did not say anything. At this moment, the parasol tree took the paper from Lung Ruoxue's hands and read through it quickly. Then it said furiously, "What are we waiting for? Let's just kill our way into the 3rd and 4th alliances. To dare to bully our people like this, you must be tired of living." In an instant, the mother parasol tree transformed from an elegant woman into a fire-breathing Tyrannosaurus. Shue'er's people were her people. Bullying Shue'er subordinates was the same as bullying her. Therefore, the parasol tree mother tree naturally felt the same and was determined not to let the people from the 2 alliances off. As the most ancient plant ancestor in the divinity, the mother parasol tree had a mild temper most of the time. However, as one of the few godly venerable rank plants in the divinity, she was rather arrogant and protective. Her violent nature was hidden deep in her blood. However, this time, seeing Shue'er's subordinates suffer such a fate, it had completely ignited her anger. Although this kind of thing wasn't uncommon in the divine realm, she wouldn't meddle in other people's business if it didn't involve her. But wasn't this related to her? So how could she bear it? Seeing that Lung Ruoxue didn't have much of a reaction, and the woman beside her was the first to fly into a rage, the alliance master of the 5 alliances was so frightened that he hurriedly said, "Senior, I don't dare to meddle in your affairs. But can you not sell me out?" Sob. If the Ascender Alliance knew that he was the one who had revealed the news to Lung Ruoxue, he would be isolated. He was so scared. "Don't worry, you won't be involved in this." The mother parasol tree rolled its eyes at the cowardly leader of the 5 alliances and said, The alliance masters of the 5 alliances were relieved. "Senior, let's go to the 3rd and 4th alliances." At this moment, Lung Ruoxue finally spoke. Chapter 2662. Lung Ruoxu's ever-changing face. 1. All right, he said. The mother parasol tree responded. She could tell that Shui was in a bad mood. Even though she did not turn into a shrew and curse like her, the mother parasol tree understood her well. It knew that the calmer she was, the more serious the matter was. Oh, this should be called the calm before the storm. Senior, do you need me to send someone to bring you to the third and fourth alliances? At this time, the 5 leaders asked again. Don't blame him for not being loyal to the alliance. It was truly better for a fellow Taoist to die than for me. If I didn't stand on Lung Ruoxu's side, she might even destroy the 5 alliances in a fit of anger. Who would he cry to then? Furthermore, it was common knowledge that the 5 alliances in the Ascender Alliance were at odds with each other. There was no need for him to offend Lung Ruoxu for the sake of his 2 opponents. This ancestor could not be offended. This matter became clearer after he reported it to the alliance masters of the 5 alliances in the divinity and received a reply. Thank you, then. Lung Ruoxu didn't reject the other party's flattery. In any case, she had to go to the third and fourth alliances. Having someone to lead the way would save her a lot of trouble. One had to know that other than the first, second, and fifth alliances, only the third and fourth alliances were ones she had not been to. Now that she thought about it, she had actually come into contact with all 5 alliances in the Ascender Alliance. She did not know if she was lucky or if the Ascender Alliance was unlucky. Naturally, the leaders of the 5 alliances didn't dare to accept the other party's thanks. Very quickly, he found his trusted aide and explained the situation to him. Then, he watched as Lung Ruoxu and the mother parasol tree left. He sent off these 2 terrifying women. After the 2 of them left, the leader of the 5 alliances realized that he had broken out in a cold sweat again. Woo! Those 2 women were too scary, weren't they? As for the confidant of the leader of the 5 alliances, after bringing Lung Ruoxu and the mother parasol tree to the 3 alliances, he wanted to return. He knew that the 2 of them were going to the 3 alliances and the 4 alliances to cause a scene, and was afraid that they would see that he had brought the 2 of them here. Hence, he could not wait to leave before the 3 alliances and the 4 alliances noticed him. However, without Lung Ruoxu and the mother parasol tree's orders, he did not dare to take a single step. Senior, this is the 3rd alliance. The 4th and 3rd alliances are right next to each other, very close. The confidant of the 5 alliance masters wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said carefully. The implication was obvious. They had arrived at their destination. Could he go back now? Oh, bring me to the 3 alliances' base. Lung Ruoxu acted as if she didn't see the desire to leave in the other party's eyes as she directly gave her instructions. When the confidants of the 5 alliance masters heard this, they wanted to kneel down in front of Lung Ruoxu. Sob, this way they would be discovered. At that time, the 5 alliances would be targeted by the 3rd and 4th alliances. He really didn't want to go. However, how could Lung Ruoxu be so easily dismissed? She coldly glanced at the other party and said, If you don't, what if I accidentally let it slip and say that you brought us to the 3rd and 4th leagues to cause trouble? You know the consequences. Oomph. Was she that easy to make use of? Lung Ruoxu sneered in her heart. Don't think that she didn't know the intense competition between the 5 alliances in the Ascender Alliance. If they wanted to use her as a weapon, how could they not pay the price? The confidants of the alliance masters of the 5 alliances wanted to kneel down in front of Lung Ruoxu immediately. Would they only be satisfied if they dragged the 5 alliances into the water? A certain trusted aide was very worried, but he could not do anything about Lung Ruoxu, this ancestor. He could only brace himself and continue to lead the way. The mother parasol tree chuckled at the back as it watched a certain trusted aide walk in front as if a loved one had died. This time, the Ascender Alliance was going to be lively. The excitement she was talking about was not referring to her and Shui going to cause a scene, but rather that the few alliances in the divine realm would not be at peace. The 5 league masters wanted to use them to deal with the 3rd and 4th league. Did they really think they were fools? However, she did believe that the leaders of the 5 alliances would not dare to lie to them about the whereabouts of Shui heir subordinates. because if they did, the five alliances would end up in a terrible state. Thanks. After walking for a while, they finally arrived at the three alliances' encampment. One of his trusted aides pointed at Lung Ruoxue and said, "Senior, we've arrived." After saying that, he immediately hid far away to avoid being discovered. However, Lung Ruoxue wouldn't let him off so easily. She beckoned him over with her finger. A certain trusted aide didn't dare to disobey and could only brace himself as he walked over unwillingly. "Senior, is there anything else?" The confidant wanted to cry, but had no tears. Why was the errand he had taken on so terrifying? Sob. This was the rhythm of wanting him to die. "Use your status as a member of the 5 major guilds and bring us in." Lung Ruoxue smiled. "Senior, this will let them discover my identity." A certain trusted aide reminded them, thinking, "Didn't you guys promise the Alliance Master that you wouldn't betray him? Then what was going on now?" "Don't worry, they're already dead. Dead people can't speak." The mother parasol tree patted the shoulder of a certain trusted aide and consoled him. When a certain confidant heard this, he had a mixed feeling in his heart. This meant that he had to go in. Sob. Why was his life so bitter? "Don't talk nonsense, just hurry up. Our time is precious." Lung Ruoxue saw that her confidant was hesitating and was not decisive at all, so she asked impatiently. Ugh, no matter how slow the confidant was, he could tell that this ancestor was about to get angry. He didn't dare to waste any more time. So he took out a sign and walked to the gate of the 3 alliances, showing it to the guard. The guard took a look, but did not let them in immediately. Instead, he asked, "Why are the 5 leagues here at the 3 leagues? What's the matter?" After he finished speaking, his eyes were still sizing up Lung Ruoxue and the parasol tree. He thought to himself, "These 2 are good stuff. Hee. The Alliance Masters of the 5 alliances asked me to give the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances a gift." A certain trusted aide said with a smile. Then, he threw a knowing look at the guard. After that, the guard smiled with a tacit understanding. The gaze that he cast on Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree became even more unbridled. "These 2 gifts are not bad. The Alliance Master will definitely like them." After a long time, the guard at the door said with a smirk. Moreover, he didn't doubt the authenticity of his confidant's words. After all, in his heart, he felt that it was only natural for the 5 alliances to want to curry favor with their 3 alliances masters. After all, the 5 alliances had the lowest status and strength in the Ascender Alliance. That's good. A certain trusted aide put on a relieved expression and looked at Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree uneasily. He hoped that these 2 ancestors would not be angry because of his words. That was just a temporary solution. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the parasol tree finally realized that they were the gifts that the trusted aide was referring to. They furrowed their brows slightly and caught a glimpse of the smile on the trusted aide's face. The 2 of them understood and smiled in cooperation. Seeing this, the confidant's heart that had been in his throat was finally at ease. When the guards saw the beautiful smiles on the 2 women's faces, they immediately froze on the spot. Beautiful. It was so beautiful. Without further hesitation, the guard excitedly invited the 3 of them into the 3 alliances after coming back to his senses. Then, he happily went to inform the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances. Chapter 2663. Lung Ruoxue's ever-changing face, 2. Lung Ruoxue and the other 2 sat in the 3 alliances' living room, as steady as a mountain. Seeing that the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances hadn't arrived yet, one of his confidants dared to explain in a low voice, "Seniors, the leader of the 3 alliances is very cunning and ruthless. However, he is very friendly to women, especially beautiful women. So, please bear with it for the time being." It was fine to feel aggrieved, but Lung Ruoxue suddenly thought of an important question. Would the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances recognize me? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but ask. If the Alliance Masters of the 5 alliances could recognize her, then the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances would probably recognize her as well, right? At that time, his identity would be exposed before he could save Luo, Xian, and the others. Don't worry. As long as you don't admit it, the alliance masters of the three alliances won't think that you're Lung Ruoxue, a certain trusted aide hurriedly replied. Lung Ruoxue is in the god world. Who would believe that he had come to the godly mainland? So even if they recognized Lung Ruoxue, as long as she didn't admit to it, the other party would only think that the woman in front of them looked like Lung Ruoxue. All right. She understood what a certain confidant meant. Lung Ruoxue nodded and expressed that she would act well until she found Luo Xian and the others. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue understood what he meant, the confidant finally relaxed and sat back down properly. Not long after, hurried footsteps could be heard from outside the living room. Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree were calmly drinking the tea that they had brought with them until a middle-aged man walked in from outside. The middle-aged man also saw Lung Ruoxue with a single glance and shouted, "Lung Ruoxue?" His heart trembled. Why did the unreliable alliance master of the five alliances send Lung Ruoxue to him as a gift? Wasn't she trying to harm him? The middle-aged man was infuriated by this fact, and his anger rose to the top of his head. However, he didn't dare to lose his temper in front of Lung Ruoxue. Otherwise, if he really offended this ancestor, even the General Alliance wouldn't be able to save him. When Lung Ruoxue heard the other party calling out her name, she didn't even raise her head. She just calmly did what she was supposed to do. However, a certain trusted aide was already drenched in cold sweat. He might have said it calmly earlier, but when the alliance masters of the three alliances recognized him, his heart was beating more violently than anyone else. Sob, he was afraid of death. Third alliance master, why you've got the wrong person. She's not Lung Ruoxue. A certain confidant forcefully concealed the panic in his heart and said in a calm manner, not Lung Ruoxue, just look alike. After hearing the words of a certain trusted aide, the alliance master of the three alliances worriedly took out Lung Ruoxue's portrait to compare. Other than the fact that her temperament did not resemble that ancestoress, her appearance was exactly the same. How could there be someone who looked so similar? The alliance masters of the three alliances were still worried. He walked closer to take a closer look, and then looked at the portrait in his hand. He was still full of doubts. However, the woman in the portrait had the air of a queen, and the one in front of him was definitely a little white flower that people couldn't help but want to pity. Look at her delicate appearance. How attractive. You're not Lung Ruoxue? After some thought, the alliance master of the three alliances purposely reached out to touch Lung Ruoxue's face. However, Lung Ruoxue seemed to be extremely afraid as she hid behind the mother parasol tree. She even put on a frightened expression. Thanks, the parasol tree mother tree broke out in a cold sweat. She then grabbed the wrist of the alliance master of the three alliances and shouted, "What do you want to do? You're not allowed to bully my little sister." I didn't bully her. I just wanted to confirm if she's Lung Ruoxue. The alliance masters of the three alliances spoke the truth patiently. After all, the mother parasol tree was also a peerless beauty. It was necessary to be gentle to a beauty. What Lung Ruoxue? Which woman's substitute did you take my sister for? I'm telling you, my sister Wu Shui is not one of those women. The Wutong mother tree, Hedong Shi, roared. The alliance master of the three alliances could not help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. He did not expect that of the two beauties in front of him, one was so weak that she looked like she was going to faint at any moment, and the other was a little chilly. However, she was really spicy and flavorful. He liked it. If the other party really wasn't Lung Ruoxue, then he would be very satisfied with these two women. However, he was suspicious by nature and would never let his guard down just because the other party was weak. Hence, he tried to probe her again and wanted to reach out to touch Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face. As for Lung Ruoxue, she simply hid in the embrace of the parasol tree. She was so frightened that her little face turned pale. Her beautiful eyes were glistening with tears as she said gently, "Sister, I'm so scared. Let's go home." Shui, don't be afraid. With big sister here, this uncle won't dare to bully you. The mother parasol tree was sweating profusely, thinking, Shui, isn't your acting a little too much? However, She was very cooperative with her words and glared at the leaders of the three alliances. But this uncle is so fierce. It's like it's going to eat people, Lung Ruashua said with a face full of fear. The tears in her beautiful eyes swirled but did not fall, making her look even more pitiful. Don't be afraid, I won't be fierce. Don't ever think about going home again. This is your home. You can live here in peace. They'll send people to take good care of you. As long as we're here, we'll definitely let you and your sister live a good life. The three alliance masters promised. After testing the waters time and time again, he finally let go of his suspicions that the other party was Lung Ruashua. In his heart, this weak and frail woman in front of him could never be the goddess of slaughter. Lung Ruashua? Really? 2 drops of tears rolled down from Lung Ruakshu's beautiful eyes. One of them was even hanging on her thick and curly eyelashes, making people want to love her even more. The Alliance Master's heart softened when he heard her gentle question. Such a delicate beauty would definitely be pampered by others. Therefore, the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances nodded heavily, then turned to one of their confidants, who was petrified, and said, "Go back and tell your Alliance Master that I'm very satisfied with his gift." A certain trusted aide suddenly came back to his senses when he heard this, and he nodded his head somewhat woodenly. One had to know that he was completely dumbfounded by the situation in front of him. This was really too horrifying. How did the queen-level Azura become a little white flower in the blink of an eye? He rubbed his eyes in disbelief. It wasn't switched. He had been there the whole time and could clearly see that the woman who was hiding in the embrace of the mother parasol tree with a frightened look was definitely Lung Ruashua. However, looking at her helpless look now, which man could reject her? The confidant's heart trembled violently, and he was even more determined to not offend the 2 women in front of him. This was really too terrifying. The other party simply had a myriad of changes that were impossible to guard against. He had decided that he would leave this place as soon as he had the chance, because it was not safe here. He wanted to leave. He wanted to leave. He didn't want to stay here any longer. However, he did not need to ask for it, as the 3 alliances' masters let him go. Lung Ruashua and the mother parasol tree were naturally held back by the 3 alliances' masters. The moment he heard the order to leave, a certain trusted aide ran away faster than a rabbit. However, Lung Ruashua didn't want him to be too idle and had secretly sent him a voice transmission, telling him to be on standby at all times, or else he would bear the consequences. Chapter 2664. Lung Ruakshu's ever-changing face. 3. When a certain confidant received this news, he even had the thought of buying a piece of tofu to kill himself. Sob, isn't this asking for his life? You can't bully people like this, okay? However, he definitely did not dare to disobey Lung Ruashua. Even though he was out of the 3 alliances' sphere of influence, he did not dare to go too far. Who asked the queen to say that she could summon him at any time? Oh, my God! Someone come and save him. Lung Ruashua definitely didn't know about a certain trusted aide's wish. However, even if she knew, she wouldn't take it to heart. After that, she and the mother parasol tree moved into a small courtyard in the 3 alliances' encampment. Although the courtyard wasn't big, it was exquisite. It wasn't hard to see that the 3 league masters had put in a lot of effort to build it. The people who were sent to serve Lung Ruashua and the parasol tree knew that their alliance master had taken a fancy to the 2 women living here. Hence, they did not dare to be negligent. As for Lung Ruashua and the mother parasol tree, who had turned into golden canary, they looked obedient on the surface and did not step out of their homes. But in reality, the 2 of them had secretly used their divine senses to search the 3 alliances' encampment several times. In the end, they confirmed that Luo Xian and the rest were not here. Schwerer, could it be that guy from the 5 alliances is lying to us, deliberately using us to get rid of his enemies? After searching through the 3 alliances' encampment, the parasol tree and Lung Ruashua sat in the garden as if no one was around. On the surface, they did not speak, but they were communicating through voice transmission. I don't think the leaders of the 5 alliances would dare. If he lies to me, he knows the consequences. Lung Ruoshu analyzed. The parasol tree nodded and said seriously, "That's true, but where is the person we're looking for?" Lung Ruoshu thought for a moment and directly sent a voice transmission to one of her confidants. "The person I'm looking for isn't in the 3 leagues." After saying this, she cut off the connection between the two of them. When the other party heard this, he was so scared that his little face turned pale. If he wasn't in the 3 alliances, was this a sign that something was going to happen? He didn't know why, but he felt very uneasy. He immediately reported back to the 5 alliances, and the 5 alliances' leaders panicked. If Lung Ruoshue couldn't find the person he was looking for in the 3rd and 4th leagues, she might think that he was lying to her. However, the information he received showed that those people were indeed in the 3rd and 4th leagues. Afraid of Lung Ruoxu's fury, the alliance masters of the 5 alliances hurriedly sent people to the 3 and 4 alliances to investigate the situation. They had to find out where those people were. On the other side, Lung Ruoshua secretly informed the mother parasol tree of the situation. The two of them then truly enjoyed the treatment of the 3 alliances. In any case, there would be people outside to help them keep an eye on the situation. All they had to do was put on a good show in front of the alliance masters of the 3 alliances. The two of them wanted to leave a deeper impression on the 3 alliances master. But strangely, ever since the 3 alliances master had arranged for them to stay in this courtyard, he had not come to visit them even once. This made the two of them suspicious. After waiting for a few days, the alliance masters of the 3 alliances finally arrived. The moment Lung Ruoshue saw the alliance master of the 3 alliances, she immediately shot him a resentful glance. Then, she turned around and returned to her room arrogantly. When a mother parasol tree saw this, it did not give the alliance masters of the 3 alliances a good look and even pulled a long face. Seeing that the beauty seemed to be a little dissatisfied, the leader of the 3 alliances immediately smiled and coaxed. "Tong, are you angry too? It's because I have something important to do these few days that I didn't come to see you sisters." "What important matter made you leave us 2 sisters here for so many days? If you don't explain clearly, don't even think that we'll talk to you." The mother parasol tree was a domineering and narrow-minded woman. When the alliance master heard this, he quickly explained, "The 3 alliances of the divine realm gave us a mission. I've been busy with this for the past few days. In fact, this was all nonsense." He did not come to see Lung Ruoshua and the mother parasol tree because he was playing hard to get. This trick of his had always been surprisingly effective, and he had tried out time and time again. After saying that, he took out 2 beautifully wrapped boxes and placed them in front of the mother parasol tree. He smiled and said, "This is a gift for you and Shui. See if you like it." This was also a move he was used to. How could he not be generous enough to give a little blood if he wanted a woman to be completely devoted to him? And he was very confident that no woman could escape the attack of the cannonball. The mother parasol tree opened one of the gift boxes very cooperatively. After taking a look, it immediately revealed a surprised expression and then said embarrassedly, "This gift is too expensive. We're not worthy of it." The gift that the alliance master of the 3 alliances gave her was a set of beautiful blue jewelry inlaid with high-grade water attribute crystals. The workmanship was exquisite and the style was beautiful. One could tell that it was expensive just by looking at it. Moreover, if it were any other woman, they would definitely be charmed by this set of beautiful jewelry. But who was the mother parasol tree? How could she be so easily hit by this little cannonball? The words she had said to the alliance masters of the 3 alliances also made her feel a little disgusted, but she held back the feeling of wanting to vomit and pretended to like the gift very much. She threw a charming eye at the alliance masters of the 3 alliances with affection. The alliance masters of the 3 alliances were overjoyed. He knew that this gift would definitely be useful. After all, no woman would be able to reject such beautiful jewelry. The alliance master of the 3 alliances, who thought that he had succeeded, could not help but approach the mother parasol tree and pull him into his arms. However, the mother parasol tree dodged him easily. Thanks, how detestable! This woman was really greedy. The alliance master of the three alliances was furious when he saw the mother parasol tree dodge his wolf claws. He didn't expect that such a beautiful set of jewelry couldn't satisfy the other party. He hated himself for not being able to even touch the corner of his opponent's clothes, even though he was bleeding. In his past history of hunting for women, this could be said to be a tragic defeat. However, the thoughtful alliance master of the three alliances did not show any dissatisfaction on his face. Instead, he said lovingly, "Tong, I really like you." "Oh, really? Did you like me more or swear more?" The mother parasol tree laughed and asked with an expression that demanded an answer from the alliance master. "I like both." The leader of the three alliances laughed complacently. "I can't like all of them. There can only be one person I like the most. Tell me, who do you like the most?" The mother parasol tree was clearly not satisfied with the alliance master's words and did not let it go. "I like you the most. I like you the most." Helplessly, the alliance master of the three alliances could only say this. He thought of explaining it to Shui, or when he got back, so that the weak little rabbit wouldn't get angry at him. "This is more like it." The mother parasol tree was satisfied, but it still did not let the other party take any advantage of it. The alliance masters of the three alliances could only be angry at this. After the alliance masters of the three alliances had left, Lung Ruoxue put on a weak and delicate appearance and walked out of the room. She secretly transmitted a message to the mother parasol tree. "Senior, I didn't expect your acting skills to be so outstanding. It's really an eye-opener for me today. Bad girl, who am I doing this for? You don't know how disgusting it was when I said those words to the alliance master of the three alliances. Damn it, I've never been like this in all my life." The mother parasol tree said, sweating. "Thank you for your hard work, senior." Lung Ruoxue tried to please him. "It's good that you know." The mother parasol tree was satisfied. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue suddenly received a voice transmission from a certain trusted aide. Immediately, her expression turned grave. "Swear, what's wrong?" The mother parasol tree quickly asked as it sensed that something was wrong with Shui. So the third and fourth alliances have courtyards on the Divine Continent. However, they're not within the Ascender Alliance's sphere of influence. No wonder we didn't discover them. Lung Ruoxue replied. "Then let's quickly go to the courtyard. Your subordinates should be locked up there." The mother parasol tree said anxiously. "The people from the five alliances told me that they don't know the exact location of the courtyards of the third and fourth alliances." Lung Ruoxue replied honestly. "In that case, we can only let the alliance masters of the three alliances take the initiative to bring us there." The mother parasol tree was a little speechless. It seemed like he still had to use the honey trap. This fact made her a little depressed. "He'll have to trouble Senior to cooperate," Lung Ruoxue said in a coquettish manner. "All right, in order to save your subordinates, they'll go all out. Shui, you have to make it up to me after we save her." The mother parasol tree requested. Lung Ruoxue hurriedly nodded and started to feign illness. Her illness naturally attracted the attention of the three alliances leaders. When the alliance masters of the three alliances saw the pale and sickly beauty, they immediately felt heartache. The mother parasol tree took the opportunity to request to bring her sister to a quiet place to recuperate. It even said that Shui had been weak since young, and a crowded place was not suitable for her to live in. The alliance master of the three alliances had thought about this for a long time. He really could not bear to let these two beauties be too far away from him. However, as he watched the weak Shui become thinner day by day, and the mother parasol tree stared at him with resentful eyes all day long, he finally took the bait and offered to send the two sisters to another courtyard to recuperate. The next day, the alliance master of the three alliances, who acted swiftly, sent someone to send Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree to the courtyard. The residence of the alliance master of the three alliances was located in an unknown place with beautiful mountains and clear waters. The greenery there was abundant and the environment was beautiful. It was really a good place to recuperate. When they arrived at the courtyard, Lung Ruoxue noticed that there was more than one tall and magnificent courtyard. She pretended to be curious and asked the guard who was escorting her about the place next to it. When she heard the guard say that the place next to it was the courtyard of the Four Alliances leader, Lung Roashue and the parasol tree secretly exchanged glances and saw a smile in each other's eyes. This really didn't take any effort at all. He had thought that he would have to figure out a way to find out where the other courtyards of the Four Alliances leaders were, but it was just next door. This would save them a lot of trouble. However, Lung Roashue didn't want to alert the enemy before she rescued Luo Xian and the others. She pretended to be surprised and said, "I didn't expect our alliance master to build a courtyard with the Four Alliances. Sister, this is great. Our safety is even more guaranteed." Chapter 2665. Meeting Legion 1. Yup. With the Four Alliances as our neighbors, I don't have to worry about our safety in such a remote place. The mother parasol tree also put on a look of extreme relief. When the guard who brought them here heard this, he was a little unhappy. Did the two of them not trust their strength? One of the guards didn't care that the two women in front of him were the Alliance Master's favorites and said angrily, "Don't worry. Even without the Four Alliances as neighbors, we brothers will protect you." Of course we believe that, but with the Four Alliances as company, wouldn't it be safer? The mother parasol tree said with a smile. Seeing that she wanted to drag the Four Alliances into this, the guards were helpless. Even though they were furious at Lung Roashue and the mother parasol tree's thoughts, they did not dare to offend the two of them too much. After all, they were the Alliance Master's women. If he complained to them in front of the Alliance Master, they would have to bear the consequences. Haha, beauty, you really have good taste. At this moment, a smug laugh came from the courtyard next door. Then a tall, handsome man in his 30s walked out of the courtyard. The guards' expressions changed when they saw him. On the other hand, Lung Roashue and the mother parasol tree looked at each other in confusion until the other party walked up to them. "She's really a stunning beauty." As the man spoke, he reached out his hand. Seeing this, Lung Roakshu's face turned pale with fear, and she hid behind the mother parasol tree. "Don't be afraid." The mother parasol tree quickly consoled Lung Roashue. Then it glared at the man with a pair of fiery eyes and said, "What are you doing? Do you know who we are? Ha ha, you're really hot beauties. Don't be afraid, I just really like you guys." The man laughed out loud when he saw this. The two women in front of him were truly stunning, more beautiful than any woman he had ever seen. He couldn't deny that he was very tempted. "Fourth Master, these two are our master's men." The guard who saw through the man's thoughts quickly warned. "Oh, really?" Then he'll exchange 10 pieces of top-grade crystal stones with him. The leaders of the Four Alliances said generously. After the guard heard this, he couldn't make up his mind. This matter wasn't something he could decide. However, 10 pieces of top-grade crystal stones was really a huge sum. However, the huge sum of money in his eyes made Lung Roashue and the mother parasol tree extremely depressed. "You bastard! When did they become so worthless? You want to exchange the two of them for 10 pieces of top-grade crystal stones? Am I dreaming? How could the leaders of the three alliances agree to such a condition? It was worth more than this even if they went back to the Haoian continent. Alliance Master 4, I can't make this decision." At this moment, Lung Roashue and the mother parasol tree heard one of the guards speak. After hearing this, the two of them were depressed again. He couldn't make the decision, so this business couldn't be carried out. But what if he could make the decision? Were the two of them going to belong to the Four Alliance Masters? Thinking of this possibility, Lung Roashue and the mother parasol tree were a little annoyed. However, the two of them were very calm and did not show it on their faces. The parasol tree mother tree even said, "We won't exchange our alliance master with you. Give up on that idea." "Thanks so, really? They'll talk to him personally." After the leaders of the Four Alliances finished speaking, they disappeared. Seeing that he had left, Lung Roashue and the mother parasol tree did not think too much of it. After entering the courtyard that the guards had arranged for them, the two of them went straight into the room, saying that they were going to rest. The guard did not suspect anything. After the guard left, The two of them immediately used their divine senses to search. They searched around, but they didn't find any traces of Luo, Xian, and the others in the courtyards. I didn't see. The mother parasol tree asked in surprise. The fifth master wouldn't keep toying with them, would he? That old man shouldn't have the guts to do that. However, the person they were looking for wasn't in the Three Alliances courtyard. What should they do? The mother parasol tree was a little anxious. Shue'er's subordinates, who were bound by the slave contract, would have to suffer for another day if they were found later. This situation was really terrible. Senior, don't worry. We'll find them. Lung Ruoxue was worried about her subordinates as well. However, she had to comfort the mother parasol tree first. They could not afford to lose their composure. Yes, the mother parasol tree nodded, but it was very uncertain in its heart. For the next few days, Lung Ruoxue continued to pretend to be weak while the parasol tree mother tree went to chat with the guards. Initially, she had wanted to find out if there were any other courtyards in the lower Three Alliances. However, the guards had no idea at all. After spending half a day's effort, she could not find out anything useful. After telling Lung Ruoxue about her depressed mood, Lung Ruoxue personally went to look for the guards. Of course, she still had to ask Qingju for help and let him read their minds. However, it was to no avail. However, she found out that the eldest miss of the Three Alliances was currently living in a courtyard. After exchanging information with the mother parasol tree, the two of them were a little puzzled. According to their divine senses, they didn't find any big miss of the 3 leagues. Could it be that the big miss of the 3 leagues had already left before they arrived? However, before the two of them could figure out where the eldest miss of the Third Alliance had gone, the Alliance Master of the Third Alliance came looking for them. Naturally, the Alliance Master of the Fourth Alliance, who had a smug look on his face, was accompanying him. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue's condition was much better, the Alliance Master of the 3 Alliances was naturally in a good mood. However, when he thought about how this woman was about to no longer belong to him, his mood fell again. After hesitating for a moment and seeing the leaders of the 4 alliances winking at him, the leader of the 3 alliances took a deep breath and said, "Shue'er, from today onwards, you belong to the 4 alliance masters." Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree looked at each other. They thought they had heard wrongly, but when they saw the serious expression on the alliance master's face, they were sure that he was not joking. "Alliance master, what is the meaning of this?" The mother parasol tree was instantly enraged as it roared. "The Third Alliance Master has already sold Shue'er to me." Seeing that Alliance Master 3 was too embarrassed to speak, Alliance Master 4 gloated. "What? Alliance Master, how can you do this? You've really gone too far." Hearing this, the mother parasol tree was even angrier. Damn it, he dared to sell out her little girl. Wasn't he looking for death? Why can't I do this? How have I gone too far? You're all gifts from the 5 Alliance Masters, so naturally, you're at my disposal. I don't want to support a sickly woman. Do you know how much money I've spent to treat her? The Alliance Master of the 3 Alliances roared. If it wasn't for the fact that Wu Shui was seriously ill and was a bottomless pit, he really couldn't bear to sell her. But if he didn't sell her, he didn't know how much money he would have to spend on her. His heart ached for the money. The parasol tree wanted to argue with the 3rd Alliance Master when Lung Ruoxue tugged at her sleeve and said in a choked voice, "Sister, don't blame the Alliance Master. Sob, I'm too useless." Chapter 2666. Meeting Li Zhong, 2. Then she turned her teary eyes to the Alliance Master and asked pitifully, "Alliance Master, how much did you sell me for?" "Beauty, there are 5 pieces of top-grade crystal stones." Alliance Master 3's face turned red, and he was too embarrassed to answer, but Alliance Master 4 answered honestly. 5 pieces of high-grade crystal stones, so much money. Lung Ruoxue pretended to be surprised. In reality, she was so angry that she almost broke her white teeth. The anger in her heart was surging to the top of her head. She's only worth 5 pieces of high-grade crystal? Isn't this too cheap? Lung Ruoxue was so depressed by her price that she wanted to vomit blood. However, The mother parasol tree was shocked and could not help but ask, "Didn't you say 10 top-grade crystals?" "Beauty, 10 top-grade crystals is the price of the two of you. Right now, the third Alliance Master is only willing to give me your little sister, so of course I can only pay half." The 4 Alliance Masters replied, as if it was a matter of course. The mother parasol tree was infuriated when it heard that. Damn it! She and Shui were only worth 5 pieces of high-grade crystal stones each, so they were worth 10 pieces in total. And now, the Alliance Master of the 3 alliances had separated the 2 of them. How preposterous! In that instant, the mother parasol tree had already sentenced the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances to death. Oomph. Did he really think that he could sell it to anyone in this world? Did he treat them as slaves? The mother parasol tree had never thought that it would be so worthless. Seeing that the parasol tree mother tree was unhappy, the Alliance Master of the 3 alliances coaxed Tonga in giving Shui to the 4 alliances for her own good. The 4 alliances are much richer than our 3 alliances. If she goes to the 4 alliances, Shui's illness won't be a problem at all. Moreover, the 4 alliances are very close to our 3 alliances. You sisters can meet whenever you want. Oh, really? Then I'm going to live with Shui in the 4 alliances. The mother parasol tree requested. How can this be? He wasn't that stupid to let Tong go to the 4 alliances. Wouldn't that be sending a sheep into the tiger's mouth? Why not? Shui is sick now. As her sister, how can I not care about her? The mother parasol tree's performance as a good sister was quite on point. What a good sister. 3rd Alliance Master, why don't you let this beauty live with me? He'll take good care of them. Seeing this, the leaders of the 4 alliances quickly expressed their opinions, hoping to leave a good impression on the mother tree. The Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances became anxious and said, "No, that's absolutely not allowed. What if I insist on going?" The mother parasol tree asked coldly. "I said no." The 3rd Alliance Master roared in rage. He felt that the mother parasol tree was challenging his bottom line, so he could no longer tolerate its behavior. Oomph. Didn't he just rely on the fact that he liked her? Without his love, did this woman really think that she could still be in the 3 leagues like a fish in water? Guards, lock Lin Tong in her room. Without my orders, no one is allowed to let her out. Immediately, the 3rd Alliance Master summoned the guards and ordered them angrily. When the guard heard this, he immediately grabbed her arms and forcefully pulled her away and locked her in the room. After the mother parasol tree was locked in the room, it kept knocking on the door and shouting, "Let me out! Let me out! You bastard!" Lung Ruoxue, who was outside, was also so worried that tears were shimmering in her eyes. She kept calling out, "Sister! Sister!" Then, she turned to the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances and begged, "Alliance Master, I beg you to let me go. She didn't mean to go against you. She did it for her useless sister." "Thanks, Shui. As long as you obediently follow the 4 Alliance Masters, I naturally won't blame your sister. I'll let her out when she calms down." Seeing this, the Alliance Masters of the 3 alliances agreed. "Then I'm relieved," Lung Ruoxue said softly. Then, she walked to the door of the room where the mother sycamore tree was closed and said through the door, "Sister, I'm going to the 4 alliances with the 4 Alliance Masters. Don't worry about me. I believe the 4 Alliance Masters will take good care of me. You have to take good care of yourself, too. They'll come to see you in 2 days. Shui, don't you go." The mother parasol tree shouted after hearing those words. "Sister, the Alliance Master will like you more if you are obedient," Lung Ruoxue reminded. Lung Ruoxue's words of advice pleased the Alliance Masters. At the same time, he felt a sense of reluctance to part with her. If it wasn't for the fact that she was so weak and sickly, he really couldn't bear to sell such a beauty. But now that the wood had already been cast into a boat, it was too late to regret. As he watched the 4th Alliance Master take Lung Ruoxue away, the 3rd Alliance Master suddenly felt as if something was missing in his heart. When they arrived at the 4th Alliance, the 4th Alliance Master arranged a relatively quiet place for Lung Ruoxue and even explained to her that it was for the sake of her health. Lung Ruoxue expressed her gratitude obediently. then returned to her room with the excuse that she was not feeling well. When she reached her room, Lung Ruoxue immediately sent a voice transmission to the parasol tree, telling it that she was fine. However, from the mother parasol tree's words, she could tell that it was quite angry and was even shouting that it would teach the two stinky men a lesson. Needless to say, the stinky man mentioned by the mother parasol tree must be the alliance masters of the 3 alliances and the 4 alliances. Hearing the mother parasol tree roaring in her heart, Lung Ruoxue consoled it for a while before cutting off the connection between the two of them. Then, she began to use her divine consciousness to search. That a prison cell, right? Lung Ruoxue searched around and found a familiar aura in the place that looked like a prison cell. However, the light in the prison cell was too dark, so she could not see clearly what was inside. Since she had found something suspicious, Lung Ruoxue naturally would not wait any longer. After summoning Ling and casting an invisibility spell on herself, Lung Ruoxue searched for a memory and found the prison cell. As soon as he entered the cell, a damp smell hit him in the face. It was so unpleasant that it was almost suffocating. Lung Ruoxue covered her nose and mouth, then moved her feather out to help her lead the way. Feather's night vision played a huge role in the dark cell. Soon, it found a few familiar-looking people in one of the cells. After reporting the situation to Lung Ruoxue asked you to bring her to the cell. Through the dark cell door, Lung Ruoxue used the faint moonlight to recognize her cheapskate big brother. At this moment, the cheap big brother was lying on the ground, not moving at all. "Big brother!" Lung Ruoxue called out softly. However, Li Zhong didn't have any reaction. Lung Ruoxue was extremely worried. The next moment, she summoned the golden eagle in her hand. Lung Ruoxue did not even think before she ordered, "Little guy, unlock the door for me." Oh, the golden hawk had learned to read people's minds. It knew that the fierce woman was in a bad mood, so it would grant her every request. After that, it made a few gestures with its little claws, and the giant lock on the cell door made a crisp sound as it was opened. Chapter 2667. Meeting Li Zhong. 3. Lung Ruoxue hurriedly walked in and helped Li Zhong up from the ground. After feeding him an elixir, she called out softly, "Big brother, wake up!" Li Zhong, who was in a daze and felt as if his entire body was on fire, suddenly felt a cool and comfortable sensation in his body. Then, he heard a woman's gentle call. After a while, he opened his eyes with great difficulty. The light in the cell was very dark, so he couldn't see the face of the person in front of him clearly. He only felt that the person in front of him should be a woman, and there was a sense of familiarity. "You're..." Li Zhong, whose mind gradually regained clarity, asked with some uncertainty. "Im Shui, big brother," Lung Ruoxue said, her heart aching. "Shui, you're really Shui, When Li Zhong heard this voice and this name, he simply couldn't believe his ears. He couldn't be dreaming, right? Why would he hear Shui-er's voice here? He must be dreaming. Li Zhong couldn't convince himself. Shui would not come here. AI. He probably missed that little girl Shui too much, so he thought that he had seen her. Seeing that Li Zhong was sighing and saying that he was dreaming, Lung Ruoxue had no choice but to release a small flame. The flame instantly lit up their faces. "Shui, is it really you?" When Li Zhong saw Lung Ruoxue's face clearly, he widened his eyes in disbelief and looked at her with his mouth half open. "Big brother, it's me." Lung Ruoxue smiled. "Shui, leave his place quickly. This is a wolf's Denver. It's too dangerous for a girl like you to stay here alone. Leave quickly before anyone finds you." As if he suddenly thought of something, Li Zhong's expression changed drastically, and he urged Lung Ruoxue to walk faster. "Big brother, I'm here to save you." Lung Ruoxue replied honestly. "We don't need you to save us. You should leave quickly. Don't let anyone find out, or you'll be in danger." Li Zhong said anxiously, "Big brother, listen to me. I don't care about those people here at all. They can't hurt me." Lung Ruoxue could feel Li Zhong's worry and comforted him. "Really? Shui, don't lie to me." Li Zhong was still not at ease. "Big brother, When have I ever lied to you? You have to believe in my strength. If I didn't have the ability to save you, I wouldn't have dared to come here. Lung Ruoxua promised. Hearing her words, Li Zhongyi felt relieved. However, after some thought, he still told Lung Ruoxua, Shui, we can't leave now. Luo Xian and his son, they're not with you? Lung Ruoxua did not wait for Li Zhong to finish his sentence and asked anxiously. No, they're being held by the Miss of the 3 Leagues. Li Zhong said, Miss of the 3 Leagues? Lung Ruoxua could not help but frown when she heard these words. The Miss of the 3 Leagues fell for Luo Fei and wanted to force her to marry him. Of course, Luo Fei wouldn't do it. In a fit of anger, the Miss of the 3 Leagues signed a slave contract with him, wanting Luo Fei to listen to her. She even tortured him in all ways and even used us to threaten Luo Fei to submit. Without waiting for Lung Ruoxua to continue asking, Li Zhong told her everything. With Shui, he seemed to have a pillar of support, and his mood miraculously calmed down. Then what about you guys? Lung Ruoxua asked with uncertainty. We're also slaves now. As Li Zhong spoke, he lowered his head in shame. When he was in the Haotian continent, although he was not very famous, at least he was like a fish in water. No one dared to treat him like this. Who knew that he would become someone else's slave not long after he came to the godly land? And it was forced. How could the proud bear this? Fortunately, he was strong enough to hold on. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to see Shui today. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua suppressed her anger and moved the small flame on her fingertip down. She saw that Li Zhong's clothes were in tatters, and there were quite a few bloodstains on them. Then, she stood up and walked to the others. After a thorough check, the anger in Lung Ruoxua's heart suddenly rose. Everyone she saw had serious injuries on their bodies. The wounds were so deep that the bones could be seen. Blood had coagulated into black bones and stained the wounds. Some of the wounds had already festered. It was a ghastly sight. The Golden Hawk, who had been silent all this while, saw this scene and jumped into Lung Ruoxua's arms in shock and fear. It buried its head in Lung Ruoxua's arms and mumbled, "So scary. It's so scary." Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua's anger rose by a few levels. After instructing Ling to bring the parasol tree over, Lung Ruoxua remained silent for a few minutes. Li Zhong was so scared that he didn't even dare to breathe. He didn't know that Shui's aura was so powerful. This kind of Shui made him feel more at ease. However, when he thought of his current status, he was no longer happy. So what if he saw Shui? He was now someone else's slave, the lowest status in the entire godly mainland. What future did he have? How could they be together with Shui in this state? If people knew that Shui had a few godbrothers who were slaves, Shui's future would probably be ruined. For a time, Li Zhong thought of many things. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he felt. Thanks at this moment, the mother parasol tree arrived. The moment she entered the cell, she happily said to Shui, Shui, I heard that you found her. That's great. We have found them, but they are seriously injured. Besides, Luo Xian and his son are not here. Lung Ruoxua said honestly, Heavens, how did they get injured to this extent? Who did this? Using Lung Ruoxua's flame, the mother parasol tree only needed a glance to see the few unconscious people lying on the ground. They were on the verge of death. Miss of the 3 Leagues, Lung Ruoxua said coldly. The chill in her voice was so strong that even the mother parasol tree could feel the chill. Miss of the 3 Leagues? Then why did she put him in the 4 alliances? The mother parasol tree was very puzzled. Then it turned its gaze to the only man who was clear-headed, waiting for him to answer. We are the slaves of the 4 alliances leaders. Li Zhong sighed. So they are colluding? The mother parasol tree came to a sudden realization. They have a good relationship, Li Zhong said in a reserved manner. With his words, Lung Ruoxua and the mother parasol tree understood everything. Shui, what do you plan to do now? The mother parasol tree looked at Lung Ruoxua and asked, Let's save Big Brother and the others first. Lung Ruoxua let out a soft sigh. Then she fed healing pills to the unconscious people. Shui, we can't. Li Zhong wanted to remind Lung Ruoxue that they couldn't leave yet. If they were discovered by the other party, it would be even more difficult to save Luo Xian and his son. You don't have to worry about Luo Xian and his son. He'll go and save them later. Lung Ruoxue knew what Li Zhong was worried about, so she gave him a calming pill. However, perhaps the other party had left a deep impression on Li Zhong. He was afraid that those people would kill Luo Xian and his son after they were rescued, so he still had a worried expression on his face. The mother parasol tree saw this and roared, "Don't worry and do as Shui says. Unless you really want to be a slave to the 4 alliances leaders for the rest of your life. I don't want to, but I've been forced into a slave contract. I'm afraid I won't be able to escape this life." Li Zhong said sadly. Who said that? Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion. The miss of the 3 leagues said that if we are slaves for a day, we will be slaves for life. Li Zhong said very honestly. You believe that? The parasol tree mother tree said in disbelief. Shui's godbrother was too easy to fool, wasn't he? Could she be lying to us? Hearing the underlying meaning of the mother parasol tree's words, Li Zhong was stunned. She was indeed lying to you. The slave contract can be terminated. Lung Ruoxue explained. She could guess why Li Zhong would believe the words of the eldest miss of the 3 alliances. After all, to an ascender who had just ascended, there were many things that they were unfamiliar with. It was precisely because of this that they could be easily deceived. Clearly, Li Zhong was one of those who had been deceived. Fuck, this bitch. Li Zhong was so angry that he started to curse, but his mood instantly became better. After all, anyone who knew that he didn't have to be a slave for the rest of his life would be happy. Big brother, calm down. He'll give you a chance to take revenge. Lung Ruoxue saw that Li Zhong's emotions were a little agitated and hurriedly consoled him. MMH, Schwether, you must let us deal with that bitch with our own hands. Otherwise, I won't be able to vent my hatred. Li Zhong said viciously, the hostility in his body completely dissipating. Don't worry, they'll leave it to you, Lung Ruoxue promised. At this moment, another weak sobbing voice was heard. Master, is that you? When she heard this voice, Lung Ruoxue moved the little flame on her finger to the owner of the voice. The moment the person who spoke saw this, he immediately bawled and threw himself in front of Lung Ruoxue, saying pitifully, Master, I thought I would never see you again in this life. The person who was crying and complaining was one of the ancestors of the Luo family, and also Luo Xian's father. Don't cry, didn't you see it? Seeing a middle-aged old man crying in front of her, Lung Ruoxue couldn't put her feelings into words. In short, it was very complicated. Don't cry. I won't cry. The Luo family's ancestors said quickly, but his voice was still a little choked. He then said, Master, you must save Xian and Fei Those 2 children have suffered a lot. We'll definitely save them. Do you know where they're being held? Lung Ruoxue saw that most of them had woken up, and all of them had tears in their eyes. She was afraid that they would all start crying, so when she asked this question, she was even more careful, afraid that she would remind them of unhappy things. They've been locked up in a secret room by the Lady of the 3 Leagues, and that secret room just so happens to be in that lattice room. Li Zhong said after seriously recalling. Her room? This is a courtyard of the 4 alliances. Lung Ruoxue reminded. Yes, this is the place where she lives. Li Zhong said with absolute certainty. Chapter 2668. Then, you can recognize me as your master. 1. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go and save them. The mother parasol tree said anxiously. She didn't want to stay here for another day. If she saw people from the 3rd and 4th leagues again, she would throw up. More importantly, she wanted revenge. Seeing the mother parasol tree's eagerness, Lung Ruoxue understood. However, Li Zhong and the rest could not understand why. They only felt that the people around Shui were all loyal, and women were no exception. With Li Zhong leading the way, Lung Ruoxue asked Ling to cast an invisibility spell on everyone. The group of them successfully arrived at the courtyard of the eldest miss of the 3 alliances. After entering the courtyard, they found a room where the eldest miss of the three alliances was staying. Lung Ruoxue saw that the eldest miss was not around and thought to herself, "I'll let her off first." Then, Lung Ruoxue followed Li Zhong's instructions and found the hidden wall of the secret room. Lung Ruoxue extended her hand and felt around the wall. However, she did not find any mechanism. Helplessly, she could only release you. "Be careful," Lung Ruoxue warned you. You nodded and looked at the wall with his bright eyes. A moment later, you used its sharp beak to peck at a certain spot on the wall. Lung Ruoxue understood and reached out to pat the wall. In an instant, a part of the wall caved in. She touched the part of the wall that had caved in and gestured for everyone to step back. Then, the wall opened up, revealing a secret chamber. "I found it." The mother parasol tree was pleasantly surprised and took the lead to enter. The secret room was very dark. Lung Ruoxue lit up a small flame, illuminating the secret room. Following that, her beautiful eyes searched around again. After only looking for half a circle, she discovered two people tied to a tall pillar in the middle of the secret room. The two of them had their heads lowered and were clearly unconscious. They were covered in wounds, and blood was dripping to the ground from their wounds. Siener. When Luo Xian's father saw the two people on the pillar, he quickly ran up and wanted to rescue them. However, the rope that tied them up was too stubborn. He tried to untie them for a long time, but he couldn't untie them. "Master, I can't untie this rope." Luo Xian's father was so anxious that he was about to cry. Then, he turned to look at Lung Ruoxue pitifully, asking for help. "This isn't an ordinary rope," Lung Ruoxue said as she walked closer. As soon as she finished speaking, she took out the cold shadow. She and the cold shadow could already communicate telepathically. Then, the cold shadow left Lung Ruoxue's hand and flew a few rounds in the air. Two cold glints shot out towards the rope. The rope broke into a few pieces. When the patriarchs of the Luo family saw this, they quickly helped Luo Xian and Luo Fei to lie on the ground. Lung Ruoxue then handed them 2 healing elixirs. After the pills entered their stomachs, the injuries on both of their bodies started to heal, and they woke up very quickly. When they saw Lung Ruoxue, both of them started to cry out a grievance. Even though it wasn't nice for 2 grown men to cry in front of her without any care for their image, Lung Ruoxue didn't stop them. She knew that this father and son duo had too many things in their hearts. Whether it was Luo Xing Heir's incident or falling into the hands of the 3 Leagues young miss, they had both suffered a huge blow. It was better to cry and vent it out than to keep it in their hearts. After a long time, the 2 of them finally stopped crying. "Master, we've let Master down." Luo Xian wiped his tears and said in embarrassment, "If you want to talk about Luo Xing, I already know. You can't be blamed for this." Lung Ruoxue smiled. "Master knows." When Luo Xian and his son, including Li Zhong and the others, heard what Lung Ruoxue said, they were all surprised. They had not told Xue about this yet. It was unbelievable that Xue already knew. "Thanks, I just came back from the Haotian continent. I saw Luo Lin and the others, and then I killed Sun Tao and the others." Lung Ruoxue sighed and explained after seeing through everyone's thoughts. "A bunch of idiots. If we didn't know about this, how could we have come to save you?" Seeing that everyone was still in a daze after listening to Xue's words, the mother parasol tree could not help but roar. She then turned to Lung Ruoxue and said, "Xue, why are your brothers and subordinates so stupid?" Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh out loud. Luo Xian and the others, on the other hand, blushed in embarrassment. This was the first time they had been called silly. Seeing that these people were a little embarrassed, Lung Ruoxue cleared her throat and said, "Let's leave this place first. If you have anything to say, we could talk outside." "Master," Luo Xian hesitated when he heard that Lung Ruoxue wanted to leave. "Don't worry about the slave contract. It'll help you remove the restrictions after we get out." Lung Ruoxue knew what Luo Xian was thinking and said directly. When Luo Xian heard this, he widened his eyes in disbelief. The moment Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree met, They knew that this fellow was also deceived. It can be removed. Li Zhong patted Luo Xian's shoulder as if he was feeling the same. That's great, Wu. When Luo Xian and Luo Fei heard this, they were so excited that their eyes were filled with tears. Get out. Lung Ruoxue didn't want the two men to continue crying, so she got Ling to cast an invisibility spell on them. The group of people silently left the courtyard of the Four Alliances without alerting anyone. Once they were out of the courtyard, Lung Ruoxue did not lead the group to leave immediately. Instead, she threw a small flame each into the courtyards of the Third and Fourth Alliances. In an instant, then, an earth-shattering shout rang out in the courtyard. Fire! Everyone quickly put out the fire. Seeing this scene, Li Zhong and the others were dumbfounded again. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly and turned to the crowd. Let's go. As she spoke, she gave you a look. You understood and instantly widened his eyes. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest were seated on its back, it spread its wings and flew into the sky. Its destination, Bamboo City. Originally, Lung Ruoxue knew of a method to remove the restriction. However, it was not suitable for Li Zhong and the others. Hence, she could only go to the Mission Guild. This place wasn't close to the Bamboo City's Quest Guild. It would take at least 3 days to reach there if they flew at full speed. However, on the second day of flying, Li Zhong and the others felt uncomfortable. There was a huge pain in their stomachs. They knew that this was the slave contract taking effect. The other party should have realized that we've gone missing. Li Zhong endured the pain and reminded. Not necessarily. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and felt that the other party was probably just testing her because her flames were not so easily extinguished. By the time the eldest miss of the 3 leagues and the others remembered the prisoners in the prison and secret chamber, they would have been burned to ashes. However, it wasn't a good idea for Li Zhong and the others to be in pain like this. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and moved them into the bracelet with a thought. After entering the bracelet, Li Zhong and the others immediately felt much better. Although there was still some pain, they could at least endure it. Chapter 2669. Then, you can recognize me as your master, too. When she felt that Li Zhong and the others in the bracelet were in less pain, Lung Ruoxue immediately pulled the mother parasol tree into the bracelet to check on their situation. How do you feel? Lung Ruoxue asked with concern. It's all right, I can endure it. Li Zhong took the lead. What about you guys? Lung Ruoxue turned her beautiful eyes to the Luo family. Master, we're not in as much pain as Li Zhong and the others. Luo Xian said honestly. How did this happen? Lung Ruoxue could not understand. Master, I'm guessing it might have something to do with the bloodline contract between us and you. It's probably the bloodline contract that helped us resist some of the restrictions of the slave contract, so we're free from the persecution of the slave contract. After thinking for a while, Luo Fei said, That makes sense. A bloodline contract is higher than a slave contract in the first place. It's a pity that you didn't contract it in the divine realm. So, a slave contract will still have some influence on you, but not much. The mother parasol tree agreed upon hearing that. Yes, if it wasn't for the blood contract with Master, I'm afraid I would have lost my innocence long ago. Luo Fei said with lingering fear. AI, we've implicated you. Li Zhong said with some embarrassment. Uncle Li, don't say that. We're one. There's no such thing as a burden. When Luo Fei heard Li Zhong's words, he felt a little embarrassed. He was the one who had caused this matter. If there were talk about dragging him down, he was probably the one who had dragged him down. Yup, it's all in the past now, so let's not discuss who's right and who's wrong. Luo Xian also said, as the saying goes, a friend in need is sincere. After this incident, the relationship between them and the Li brothers could be said to have advanced by leaps and bounds. Lung Ruoxue nodded as well. However, the parasol tree mother tree was very curious about the conflict between these people and the 3 and 4 alliances. She asked curiously, Why did you think of going to the Ascender Alliance? Haven't you heard that the Ascender Alliance has a bad reputation? Hearing this, Li Zhong and the others quickly fell silent and sighed. After a long time, feeling the mother parasol tree's expectant and curious gaze, Li Zhong suppressed his anger and said, "We didn't go to the Ascender Alliance on our own. We were deceived." Upon hearing this, the mother parasol tree could not help but blink its eyes. How did he lie? She was getting more and more curious. After we arrived here, we originally planned to cultivate while looking for Shui. However, the divine continent is so big that looking for someone is like looking for a needle in a haystack. We didn't dare to look for her openly because we accidentally learned that ascendants are not welcomed here, so we didn't dare to expose our identities. Li Zhong explained. Then, by chance, we met the Miss of the Three Leagues. She liked Luo Fei very much and expressed that she wanted to marry him. However, Luo Fei was a man. How could he marry a woman? Thus, Fei politely declined. However, that woman obviously didn't give up. We don't know how she found out that we were Ascenders. Just like how we told her about the benefits of the Ascender Alliance, we told her that if she wanted to find someone, she couldn't join the Ascender Alliance. She told us that joining the Ascender Alliance would make it easier to find the person we were looking for. After some discussion, we felt that this was reasonable. After all, the Ascender Alliance's influence in the godly mainland was not small, so we agreed. Who knew that this would also be the beginning of our nightmare? After sighing, Li Zhong continued. The Ascender Alliance is indeed very powerful in the divine mainland. However, we weren't clear about the Ascender Alliance's current situation at the time. After we went there, we realized that the Ascender Alliance didn't treat the Ascenders well. They would beat and scold them at every turn. At that time, after we understood the situation, we wanted to leave, but who knew that the big miss of the three alliances wouldn't allow us to leave? She even placed a slave restriction on us and wanted to use us to threaten Fei. Luo Xian continued after Li Zhong's words. After that, we've been living a life worse than a pig or a dog. If Shui didn't come to save us, I really don't know how long I would have to endure such a life. Li Zhong said again. When he said this, his eyes were red. It was obvious that this matter had dealt him a heavy blow. Thanks, big brother, it's fine now. I won't let those who hurt you have an easy time. Just treat this as a dream. Lung Ruoxue consoled him. Yes. Li Zhong nodded his head. Before they came here, none of them had thought that the divine realm would be like this. They could not understand why the women of the divine realm were so shameless. Especially Luo Fei. He would probably not have any good feelings for these terrifying women in the divine world in a short period of time. AI, what a sin. Big brother, before the restrictions on your bodies are removed, you should stay here for the time being. Lung Ruoxue suggested when she saw that Li Zhong and the others still had lingering fear. All right, but Shui, where's this place? Won't we make the owner unhappy if we stay here? With Lung Ruoxue's reminder, Li Zhong finally remembered that he still didn't know where he was. Don't cause trouble for Shui. I won tea. This is my territory. You guys can stay here without worry. Lung Ruoxue smiled. That's good, Shui. The spiritual energy here is so abundant. After knowing that it was Shui Heir's territory, Li Zhong was relieved. Then, he was like a curious baby, asking all kinds of questions one after another. It wasn't just him. Although the others didn't ask as much as he did, every time Li Zhong asked, they would all stare at Lung Ruoxue with curiosity, waiting for her to answer. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue could only call Qing Zhu out and let him explain to these curious babies. She then pulled the mother parasol tree and went outside. A day later, they had finally arrived at Bamboo City. The mother parasol tree did not understand why Shui had to come here. One had to know that this place wasn't close. When Lung Ruoxue heard the mother parasol tree's question, she smiled faintly and replied, "There's an acquaintance here." Shui, can you tell me where you don't have acquaintances? Hearing this, the mother parasol tree was helpless. I don't know, but even if I don't have any acquaintances, I can still create acquaintances. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Manufacture. The mother parasol tree was even more speechless. She somewhat understood what Shui meant. The two of them entered the city and headed straight to the Mission Guild without any delay. The moment they entered, Lung Ruoxua asked to see their president. When the waiter heard this, he couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. Then, he looked at the two beautiful women in front of him as if they were crazy. Was their president that easy to meet? There's something wrong with the way this person is looking at us. The mother parasol tree noticed something amiss and whispered into Lung Ruoxua's ear. Yes, he took us for lunatics. Lung Ruoxua said in all seriousness. Her serious tone almost made the mother parasol tree break out in a cold sweat. Did Schwetter have to be so serious? Chapter 2670. Then you'll recognize me as your master. 3. We want to see your president. Lung Ruoxua repeated impatiently when she saw that the guard was not moving. I'm sorry, our president isn't here. The waiter could tell that these two people really wanted to see the president. However, the president had said not to let any random person in, so he did not dare to look at the two beauties in front of him. If the president were to get angry, he would be the one in trouble. You're really not here? Lung Ruoxua's eyes narrowed when she heard this, clearly displeased. No. The waiter resisted Lung Ruoxua's pressure and said. Seeing that Lung Ruoxua's expression was turning uglier by the second, the waiter thought that the other party would be angry. Who knew that Lung Ruoxua would actually take out a piece of earthen yellow top-grade crystal and toss it up and down in her hands. Notify us, and this crystal is yours. Lung Ruoxua saw the waiter's drooling expression and went straight to the point. The waiter was very moved. This was the Earth attribute top-grade crystal that was just right for him to use. Then, the waiter's attitude changed, and he said respectfully, "Please wait a moment." After saying that, the waiter turned around and went upstairs. The mother parasol tree looked at the waiter's back and despised him for being so greedy. Bah, what a snob. The mother parasol tree said with a look of disdain. It's only human nature. Lung Ruoxua was very calm. Why don't you just kill them? Why waste a high-grade crystal? You should know that we're only worth 5 high-grade crystals. The mother parasol tree said with a face full of grief and indignation. Schwer really did not know how to live. She gave out 1 piece just by passing on a message, but she only got 10 pieces after selling the 2 of them. A piece was gone just like that. Whoa. Ha. Senior, calm down. I want to kill my way up, but I'm old friends with the president here, so I have to give him some face. Lung Ruoxua said it as a matter of course. All right then. The mother parasol tree nodded. She could not find any fault in this statement. At this moment, the waiter came down from upstairs and said with a happy face, I said a lot of nice things before the president agreed to see you. After he finished speaking, his eyes fell on the piece of high-grade crystal in Lung Ruoxua's hand. Lung Ruoxua nodded and threw the crystal in her hand to the waiter. She then pulled the mother parasol tree upstairs. She found her way to the president's office with great familiarity. The moment she entered, Lung Ruoxua regretted it, as the person sitting inside was not someone she knew. Who are you? Lung Ruoxua asked directly after she sat down. I'm the president here. Miss can call me President Pu. The chunky old man squinted his eyes as he spoke. His pair of mischievous eyes were still sizing up Lung Ruoxua and the mother parasol tree. The waiter didn't lie to him. They were really 2 stunning beauties. Don't you have an old relationship with the president here? Hearing the conversation between the two, the mother parasol tree asked in a low voice. The guild leader has changed. Lung Ruoxua replied honestly. It's really too unfortunate. The mother parasol tree did not know what to say. Her heart ached even more for the piece of high-grade crystal that Schwer had given away. She was only worth 5 pieces. Whoa, may I ask where President Zeng is? Lung Ruoxua adjusted her state of mind and asked with a faint smile. Miss, you know President Zeng? President Pu asked in surprise. He had once said that she was his previous predecessor, and had long since been transferred to the Divine Realms headquarters. Yet this woman actually didn't know. He probably didn't have a close relationship with Zeng Yan, so he was relieved. We've met several times. Lung Ruoxua said calmly. Oh, President Zeng was transferred to the Divine Realms headquarters a long time ago. so I'm in charge here now. President Pu explained. May I know why the young lady is looking for me? He asked. I want to terminate a few of my slave contracts. Lung Ruoxue said directly. Since Zhang Yin was no longer here, she did not want to make a wasted trip. She could only let this fat old man handle it for her. Miss, do you know that once you cancel the slave contract, the slave will no longer belong to you? At that time, we won't have any means to control them, so the loss outweighs the gain. President Pu quickly reminded. Of course I know. You just have to help me handle it. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. All right then. However, the cost of terminating a slave contract is very expensive. President Pu couldn't help but remind him. I know. You don't have to worry about the money. Lung Ruoxue was very forthright. Hearing this, President Pu didn't know what to say. He could only accept his fate and help Lung Ruoxue with her business. Thanks. After flipping through the slave records, President Pu looked at Lung Ruoxue with his small eyes and said, Please tell me the name of the slave. Lung Ruoxue nodded and named a few of the slaves. Hearing this, President Pu's brows furrowed together, and he said with a troubled expression, Miss, I'm sorry. From the records, those slaves don't belong to you, so I can't help you with this. What if I insist on it? Lung Ruoxue raised her brows and asked, her voice carrying a hint of coldness. President Pu shivered, but he still gathered his courage and said, This is the rule of our guild. I can't go against it. President Pu's words were spoken with a sense of justice. However, his small eyes did not stop sizing up Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree. Lung Ruoxue laughed when she heard that and said, As long as you do this for me, I won't mistreat you. You can name the price. This is not a matter of money, but of principle. President Pu said righteously. If it wasn't for the green light of desire in his eyes, Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree would have believed that President Pu was a man of principle. What a pity. Don't talk to me about principles. Let me ask you, what do I have to do for you to help me? Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. This, President Pu hesitated for a moment before saying with a troubled expression, We are not related. If I really handle this matter for you, it is equivalent to offending the Ascender Alliance. At that time, not only will I lose my position as the president, but I will also make a great enemy of the Ascender Alliance. I really don't need to take risks for a stranger. I only found out today that the quest guilds are afraid of the Ascender Alliance. After hearing that, the mother parasol tree said with a look of disdain, Why would our quest guild be afraid of the Ascender Alliance? What I mean is that if the headquarters finds out that I've done something for you, they'll definitely punish me severely. The Ascender Alliance won't let me off either. So, is it necessary for me to take the risk for you? You guys have nothing to do with me. President Pu said angrily. You're right. It's unnecessary to take risks for strangers. Lung Ruoxue agreed with President Pu's words. The mother parasol tree merely smiled without saying a word. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, President Pu gave her its good that you know look. He was obviously very satisfied with her tactfulness. Why don't we form some sort of relationship? Lung Ruoxue suggested. Upon hearing this, the mother parasol tree understood that it was time for a fight. However, President Pu didn't know Lung Ruoxue's intentions and even nodded his head in a daze. Yes, yes. As long as we have an extraordinary relationship, I will naturally do this for you. Since that's the case, you can recognize me as your master, Lung Ruoxue said casually, as if she was simply talking about what to eat today. Recognize a master? After hearing this, President Pu was stunned for a few minutes. After he recovered, he said angrily, Damn it. Who are you going to make recognize you as master? Of course it's you. Didn't you say you wanted to have an extraordinary relationship with us? It's the best choice. Lung Ruoxue replied matter-of-factly. Meanwhile, the mother parasol tree was already rolling with laughter in its heart. She loved to see Shui play with these guys who were not clear-headed the most. Did they really think that they could do whatever they wanted? Who said that master recognition was the best choice? After President Pu confirmed that he didn't hear wrongly, he shouted at the top of his voice again. Damn it. It was really too detestable. He didn't mean it that way at all, okay? Do you have a better choice? Lung Ruoshua blinked her beautiful eyes and asked with an innocent look. Of course. You can marry me. President Pu boasted shamelessly. He puffed out his chest proudly. He was the guild master of the Divine Continent's City Quest Guild. There was no need to mention his status. Here, everyone had to give him some face. Is this a toad lusting after a swan's flesh? Seeing that the guild leader in front of her dared to say it, the mother parasol tree was a little impressed. The ignorant were truly fearless. In the entire divine realm, it seemed that there was only one person who dared to say such words to them directly. At least, Alliance Master 3 and Alliance Master 4 didn't say that he treated them as his possession and that they were considered toads. Who are you calling a toad? President Pu wasn't happy. Who would be in a good mood after being criticized by a woman? Of course it's you. The mother parasol tree decided to be an honest child. You really don't know what's good for you. With my status, it's your honor to be able to take a fancy to you. Do you understand? President Pu said angrily from embarrassment. He thought that by saying his request, the two beauties in front of him would happily devote their lives to him. But who knew that they would actually call him a toad? Really, Uncle can endure it, but Aunt can't. May I ask who you are? Lung Ruoshua was very curious. Where did the old man in front of her get his confidence from? He thought that as long as he opened his mouth, any woman would come after him. Oomph. They'll scare you to death if I tell you. I'm the chairman of City's Missions Guild, and my son-in-law is the right-hand man of the 10th Elder of the Divine World's Missions Guild. President Pu looked at Lung Ruoshua and the mother parasol tree proudly. What a strong backing. The mother parasol tree said fearfully as it wiped away its sweat on purpose. How is it? Are you afraid? When President Pu heard the mother parasol tree's words, he became even more pleased and even looked at Lung Ruoshua provocatively. Faced with the provocation, Lung Ruoshua stood up calmly. Then, she pulled the little old man who was sitting on a chair across the desk over and smiled charmingly. Do I look like I'm afraid? W, what are you doing? I'm warning you, don't mess around. This is the territory of the Mission Guild, and you won't get any benefits from offending me. Seeing Lung Ruoxu's unfriendly and rude expression, President Pu was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly threatened her. Chapter 2671. Who are you? 1. Oh, really? What if I have to offend him? Faced with President Pu's threat, Lung Ruoshua wasn't angry. Instead, she laughed and openly threatened him. You will regret this. Our Mission Guild will not let you off. The God Lord's estate won't let you off either. You'd better kowtow to me now, and I might forgive you. Otherwise, you'll be dead. President Pu saw that Lung Ruoshua was clearly a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water and was furious. He couldn't understand how this woman could be so bold to provoke the God Lord's Estate's Mission Association. Wasn't she just courting death? Some people, you won't die if you don't seek death. President Pu thought to himself. You've reminded me. So the quest guilds belong to the Divine Lord's residence. Lung Ruoshua pretended to be enlightened. It's good that you know. So, I can't be offended. Seeing that Lung Ruoshua had finally understood, President Pu's confidence grew. At this moment, Lung Ruoshua turned to look at the parasol tree and asked calmly, Senior, the Mission Guild belongs to the Divine Lord's estate. What should we do? Should we smash it or not? What's wrong with the God Lord's estate? Well, smash it as well. Upon hearing this, the mother parasol tree's momentum rose and it cooperated fully. Old man, did you hear that? After hearing the parasol tree's reply, Lung Ruoshua turned her gaze towards President Pu and asked with a smile. You guys are really bold. The conversation between the two of them made President Pu, who thought that victory was in his grasp, break out in cold sweat, and his little face turned pale. These two women are so bold. They already knew that the Guild for Missions belonged to the Divine Lord's estate, yet they still wanted to destroy it? President Pu wanted to cry, but had no tears. Ever since he became the guild master of the Ing City Missions Guild, he could get whatever he wanted. He could do whatever he wanted without fear. All the major families on the godly mainland had to give him some face and address him as Your Excellency. But now, he felt a deep sense of powerlessness. The two crazy women in front of him didn't take him seriously at all. He really didn't know where they had come from. To dare to go against the Divine Master's estate. If he wasn't a lunatic, what was he? Yes, you're right. We're very bold. Lung Ruoxue agreed with a smile. She then tugged on his collar and asked, I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to help us handle this matter? I. President Pu struggled on his deathbed, not daring to relent. Although the threat of these two women made him feel afraid, his end would be even worse if he offended the Ascender Alliance. After all, the Ascender Alliance's influence in the divine realm was not small. However, his hesitation had already made Lung Ruoxue and the Parasol Tree unhappy. Lung Ruoxue took out her cold shadow and drew a few sword strokes in the air. The cold chi released by the cold shadow was directed at President Pu's neck, causing him to be so frightened that his heart was trembling. Whoa, too bad. This woman was too evil. He actually dared to threaten him with a weapon. President Pu was filled with grief and indignation. He was so frightened that his eyes were filled with tears as he looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully. Don't be like this. It's not good for women to play with such sharp weapons. President Pu reminded him pitifully, his heart trembling. I don't want to either. It's your fault for not cooperating. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She then used the sharp blade of the cold shadow to pat President Pu's round face, causing the cold shadow to tremble in anger, and the cold aura became even more terrifying. Look, even my sword is looking down on you. Lung Ruoxue saw that Han Ing was protesting, so she smirked at President Pu. Thanks, then let it stay away from me. President Pu begged. Woo, this was too bad. He was so scared that he had to pee. Fortunately, he held it in. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing. Sure, as long as you promise to help me break my slave contract. Lung Ruoxue stated her conditions. This isn't. Guild leader Pu really didn't have the guts to help and wanted to reject it. But just as he said a few words, he was interrupted by the Mother Parasol Tree impatiently. Don't talk nonsense with him. Let's do it ourselves. The Mother Parasol Tree said impatiently. Do it yourself? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes, her face filled with innocence. Well, he's just the president of the Guild of Missions. As long as we know the procedure to terminate the contract, we can do it ourselves. The Mother Parasol Tree reminded. That makes sense. Why didn't I think of that? Lung Ruoxue was enlightened. She felt that the Mother Parasol Tree's idea was brilliant. She then contacted Qingju in secret and asked it to help her read his mind. In just a few minutes, Qingju told her that it was done. Now that she knew the procedure, Lung Ruoxue naturally had no use for this timid fellow. He threw him to the side and handed him over to the Mother Parasol Tree to look after while he sat in the seat of the president. What do you want to do? President Pu listened to the conversation between the two of them. Now that he saw Lung Ruoxue sitting in his seat, a bad feeling rose in his heart. Nothing much. I'm just borrowing the official seal of your guild president. As soon as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she took out a silver seal from the drawer. The seal was not big, and it looked even more exquisite in her palm. In the middle of the seal were the words, Ing City, and at the bottom was the symbol of the Divine Master's estate. As for the process of removing the slave contract, it would first be the application submitted by the subordinate branch of the Mission Guild. Finally, it would be reviewed and approved by the Divine Realms headquarters. The headquarters would also send over a method to remove the restriction, and the slave contract would be removed. To be honest, after Lung Ruoxue knew the procedure, she felt that it wasn't too difficult to cancel the slave contract and decided to do it herself. However, she still needed President Pu's cooperation in the process. In order to prevent the official seal of the Quest Guild from being abused by others, a little bit of the blood of a certain guild leader was needed. After Lung Ruoxue was done with the application and stamped it with the official seal, She walked over to President Pu with a smile. She took out a small and exquisite dagger and waved it in front of President Pu's eyes a few times before saying, "I'm sorry, guild leader, I need to borrow some more blood." "No, don't. Don't mess around. You'll regret this." When he heard that Lung Ruoshua wanted to use his official seal, President Pu was already scared out of his wits. Now that he heard that she wanted to use his blood, he suddenly came back to his senses and decided to defend his blood with all his might. He definitely couldn't let this evil person in front of him succeed. Unfortunately, a small arm was no match for a large thigh. The parasol tree kicked President Pu to the ground and took the dagger from Lung Ruoxu's hand. It stabbed President Pu ruthlessly at the most fleshy part of his body. Blood gushed out immediately. A certain president's shrill cry sounded like a pig being slaughtered. However, the soundproofing of the president's room was too good, so no one in the guild could detect the situation. After Lung Ruoshua had collected enough blood and completed the process of terminating the slave contract, she was ordered to wait on President Pu and requested him to settle this matter quickly. At this moment, the waiter saw President Pu sitting on the chair with a smile and nodding at him. Seeing this, the waiter immediately promised that he would finish this matter as soon as possible. Chapter 2672. Who are you? 2. Lung Ruoshua was very satisfied with the waiter's working attitude. She also told him that if he could complete this task within 2 days, she would reward him. As soon as he heard that there was a reward, the waiter immediately promised that he would do his best. However, he kept thinking in his heart, what kind of reward would it be? Would he give him another piece of high-grade crystal? He was looking forward to it. After the waiter left, President Pu, who was sitting on the chair, immediately became listless, and his entire body slid from the chair to the ground. The mother parasol tree who had been standing behind him saw this, and picked him up, saying, "Sit tight. You are the guild leader of the Quest Guild. You can't be so listless. Woo. I've already done as you said. What else do you want? When will you let me go?" President Pu, whose wounds were still hurting, looked at the 2 evil women in front of him with tears in his eyes. Other people were bullied by dogs when the tiger fell into the sun. What was this? How did the fallen Ping Yang get bullied by 2 vicious dogs? How could he be so unlucky? He really didn't know where these 2 fiends had come from. Woo! He really regretted letting these 2 vicious dogs in. Now, great, they had their retribution. Sister, he's calling you 2 vicious dogs in his heart. Suddenly, Qingju's voice rang in Lung Ruoxua's mind. Is that so? After Lung Ruoxua heard this, she turned to look at the dispirited President Pu and said indifferently, "I heard you were scolding us?" No, there's absolutely no such thing. How would I dare to scold you?" When President Pu heard this, his little face immediately turned pale, and he quickly denied it. "Don't try to lie to me. My beastie can read minds. I know everything you're thinking." Lung Ruoshua laughed nonchalantly. How did this happen? President Pu was so shocked that he was dumbfounded and couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. This fact was a huge blow to him. Couldn't he just scold them in his heart to vent his anger? Sob, why was his life so hard? It wasn't easy for her career to take a turn for the better, but she actually met 2 fiends. After regaining his senses, President Pu looked at Lung Ruoshua warily. He did not dare to let his thoughts run wild anymore. However, his fearful gaze made Lung Ruoshua and the mother parasol tree laugh. "Schwerer, this old man seems to be afraid." The mother parasol tree gloated. He was not afraid. He was very afraid. The cheeky President Pu thought to himself unconsciously, "Senior, he just called us vicious dogs in his heart." Lung Ruoshua reminded. When President Pu heard this, he became even more indignant. Why was he bringing up old scores? I see. When the mother parasol tree heard this, it cooperated with Lung Ruoshua and revealed a smirk. Then it took a few steps forward and looked down at President Pu. "If you call us vicious dogs, what are you?" "I'm a pig. It was a stupid pig." "Woo. I was wrong. I won't dare to speak nonsense anymore. Please let me go." President Pu cried and begged, He was so close to hugging the mother parasol tree's leg and begging for mercy. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't want to hug it, but he didn't have the guts to do so. These two women were not human at all. In order to borrow some blood, she actually stabbed him with a dagger. Was this something a normal person would do? Let you go? Didn't you just want us to marry you? What, you don't need it now. The mother parasol tree was also an expert in digging up old debts, and it kept provoking President Pu, who was trembling in fear. Thanks, no need. No need. I really don't deserve you to. Please let me go. When President Pu heard the mother parasol tree's words, his little face turned even paler, and he hurriedly admitted his mistake. This isn't a matter of being worthy or not. The key is that those who dare to have ideas about us usually don't have a good end. How do you want to die? The mother parasol tree threatened with an evil smile. Woo, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I beg you to let me go. Just treat me as a fart and let it go. I was wrong. I was really wrong. President Pu started crying again. He was so remorseful that his intestines turned green. He shouldn't have had any ideas about these two. Now, it was time for retribution. I've said it before, this isn't a matter of letting go or not. Isn't the Mission Guild's purpose to take people's money and get rid of disasters for them? But did you do it? Not only are you not helping us, but you're also trying to get your hands on us. Do you really think you've lived too long? The mother parasol tree said casually. Do you really think that a branch president of a mission guild is that great? You dare to scheme against anyone? At this moment, Lung Ruoshua interjected. I know I was wrong. I was afraid that the Ascender Alliance would take revenge on me, so I didn't dare to help you easily. President Pu choked with sobs. Aren't you afraid of them taking revenge if we marry you? Lung Ruoshua asked with a cold smile. She's my woman. Of course I have to protect her. President Pu's heart trembled, and he spoke the truth. According to your logic, we should be able to do whatever we want to you, right? After all, you're not anyone to us. Did you offend us again? Lung Ruoshua looked at the pale-faced President Pu and smiled. Don't. I know I'm wrong. I didn't recognize Mount Tai and offended the two ancestors. Please be magnanimous and let me off this time. In the future, I promise that I'll handle all of your matters properly, and it won't be like this. What do you think? President Pu smiled as he discussed. Senior, what do you think? Lung Ruoshua looked up at the mother parasol tree. Trash like him. What can he do? The mother parasol tree looked at President Pu in disdain. I could do a lot of things. My son-in-law is the confidant of the 10th elder of the headquarters. With him around, I can help you in many ways as long as you two ancestors are willing to give me the opportunity. President Pu carefully pleaded. Schwerer, I still think he's useless. The mother parasol tree was completely unmoved. Hearing this, President Pu's eyes became wet again. Was he really going to die? He was really unwilling to accept this. It's indeed useless. If we kill them, we'll only dirty our hands. Why don't we? Lung Ruoshua only said half a sentence before she stopped. However, her inferiority made President Pu's heart jump to his throat. Cold sweat covered his entire body. Whoa, this can't be so scary. Why don't we give him another chance? After a long pause, Lung Ruoshua finally spoke. Seeing that his life was finally saved, President Pu's entire body collapsed. Lung Ruoshua and the mother parasol tree revealed a tacit smile. Actually, it was enough to just teach a small fry like him a lesson. They did not intend to kill him initially, but they would not let him off either. After that, Lung Ruoshua took Li Zhong out from the bracelet and pointed at President Pu. Big brother, let him be your servant. This was the president of the Mission Guild, even though it was only a branch. Chapter 2673. Who are you? 3. Looking at President Pu, who was paralyzed on the ground, Li Zhong was drenched in sweat. Even though he hadn't been in the godly mainland for long, he knew what kind of guild quests were. The Guild of Missions was said to be omnipotent. There was nothing that others couldn't think of, but there was nothing that they couldn't do. Furthermore, their fees were extremely high. When they had wanted to look for Lung Ruoshua, they had considered the Guild of Missions. However, after knowing their lowest fees, they had given up. But now, Shui wanted him to take in this branch as a servant. Was this a fantasy? Li Zhong felt like he was in a dream. It was too unreal. I don't want to be a servant. You can't do this to me. Hearing the two's conversation, he suddenly realized that they were talking about his President Pu and immediately tried to raise his spirits to protest. You don't have the right to refuse. You can either become my big brother's servant or die. It's your choice. Lung Ruoxue said coldly. Old man, it's better to be his servant. At least he'll be able to keep my life. The mother parasol tree also advised. President Pu was so anxious that he stuttered. He turned his gaze to Li Zhong, trying to find a breakthrough from him. When Li Zhong saw this, he wasn't moved by President Pu's pitiful gaze. He was thinking that since the other party was from the God Lord's estate, offending the God Lord's estate would be very disadvantageous for them. Hence, Li Zhong could only remind Lung Ruoxue that President Pu was from the Divine Master's residence. That's right, President Pu said loudly. I'm a member of the Divine Master's estate. If they find out about this, they won't let you off. With the God Lord's estate as a fox exploiting the tiger's might, President Pu's spirit was instantly lifted. He was so scared that he had actually forgotten the big backer behind the Mission Guild. This was really too much. God Lord's mansion? The Divine Master's estate is nothing. Let me tell you, I have a grudge against the Divine Master's estate. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly. Li Zhong and President Pu were both stunned. A grudge against the Divine Master's estate? What was the meaning of this? The two of them didn't dare to understand. Upon seeing this, Lung Ruoxue calmly said to Li Zhong, Big brother, I forgot to tell you. That bitch, Wu Han, is my enemy. One day, I will get rid of her. Therefore, the God Lord's estate is my enemy. You dare to curse at God, Lord Fogripple? When President Pu heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he was so frightened that his face turned even paler. His body was like a fallen leaf in the autumn wind, trembling nonstop. He had been scared out of his wits. If it was really as the other party had said, that he had a grudge against the God Lord's estate, then it would not have been easy for him to keep his life. Thinking of this, President Pu became even more afraid. When Li Zhong heard President Pu's words, he was also stunned. The mist ripple slut that Shui spoke of was actually a God Lord of the Divine World. Since he dared to curse at the Divine Master like that, it seemed like he really had a grudge against the Divine Master. For a moment, Li Zhong looked at Lung Ruoxue with a complicated expression. He couldn't understand why. Shui had only just arrived in the firmament. How did he become the Divine Master's enemy? However, looking at Shui, she didn't seem to be afraid at all, so she probably didn't suffer any losses. Oh, he could rest assured now. At the same time, he was also glad that he had not asked the Quest Union to find Shui. Otherwise, regardless of whether they could find Shui, they would have become the God Lord's estate's prisoners. Wiping the cold sweat on his forehead, Li Zhong looked at Lung Ruoxue, who didn't think much of it, and made up his mind, Shui, since that's the case, he'll accept this great president as my servant. Big brother will thank you in advance. Big brother, you're welcome. I suddenly remembered that guilds that do missions are very rich. Do you think I should recruit a few more guild leaders to help us accumulate wealth? Lung Ruoxue seemed to be talking to herself. This was something that she had suddenly thought of. She definitely couldn't let Wu Xian have it easy. Since they were already at odds with the God Lord estate, why not cut off her source of income first? The more Lung Ruoxue thought about it, the more she felt that this was a good idea. The mother parasol tree agreed immediately after hearing that. Li Zhong naturally didn't have any objections. President Pu, who had been listening to their conversation, wanted to faint immediately. Sob, did this count as him hearing the inside story of these people? This time, President Pu knew that he couldn't escape. Not only that, but the entire Mission Guild couldn't escape. But fortunately, there were people who were in the same boat as him, so he felt more balanced. After all, some people's hearts were so dark that they couldn't bear to see others do well, even if they were unlucky. Little old man, why don't you recognize me as your master first? There will be someone to accompany you later. Seeing through President Pu's thoughts, Lung Ruoxu's smile was extremely bright. But her alluring smile, in President Pu's eyes, was like a devil's smile. Although it was charming, it was also fatal. Sob, could he refuse? Since she couldn't, why did she still ask for his opinion? Wasn't he playing him like a monkey? At the thought of this, President Pu was filled with grief and indignation. Thanks seeing that the other party did not respond, Lung Ruoxu took it as a silent agreement. Then, she turned her beautiful eyes to the mother parasol tree and asked with a faint smile, "Senior, you're very knowledgeable. Do you know what kind of contract is suitable for him?" She didn't want to use a slave contract, nor did she want to use a bloodline contract of a higher standard for the other party. As for the master-servant contract, she was afraid that with the fog, it wouldn't be binding enough, and then her efforts would be in vain. I didn't know of an ancient contract. It's a combination of a slave contract and a master-servant contract, but the effect is obviously better. More importantly, no one can break this kind of contract. The mother parasol tree understood Lung Ruoxu's meaning and gave it some thought. That's good. Let him use it. Lung Ruoxu pointed at President Pu. Seeing President Pu's worried expression, she smiled and comforted him. Don't worry, there will be someone to keep you company. President Pu's heart was finally balanced, but he had nothing to say. Who could be happy about this kind of thing? Now, he really regretted it. A single misstep could cause 1,000 bones to be filled with hatred. However, no one would care about his thoughts. After the mother parasol tree told Li Zhong about the ancient contract that it knew, it just left it alone. Li Zhong also quickly settled the master recognition ceremony, and President Pu became his servant. Feeling the connection between the two, Li Zhong smiled and ordered, "Little Pu, in the future, remember to hand over the income of the guild to Shui, understand?" "Yes, master." After recognizing him as his master, President Pu also accepted his fate and immediately entered the role of a servant. "Be good." Li Zhong coaxed her like he was coaxing a child before letting Lung Ruoxu send him back to the bracelet. In less than 2 days, the Immortal Realms headquarters had sent back the method to remove the slave restrictions for Li Zhong and the rest. Lung Ruoxu had also rewarded the highly efficient servants as promised. After removing the restrictions for her brothers and subordinates, she brought her men back to the 3rd and 4th alliances. This time, she naturally came back to cause trouble. As for Ing City's guild leader Pu, even after Lung Ruoxu and the rest left, he was still unable to find out the identity of Lung Ruoxu and the Mother Parasol Tree. When they arrived at the Ascender Alliance's territory, the group first went to the 3 alliances. At the entrance of the 3 alliances, Lung Ruoxu did not want to be as polite as she was the last time. However, the guards of the 3 alliances were rather surprised to see her and the Mother Parasol Tree, because there was a rumor that the 2 of them had been burned to death by a sudden fire in the side courtyard. Who were the 2 people in front of them now? However, before they had the chance to voice out their doubts, the Mother Parasol Tree waved its hand and threw out a few green branches. The few guards at the gate immediately stopped breathing and died. Upon seeing this, Li Zhong and the others broke out in cold sweat. They thought to themselves, what a fast technique. What a powerful senior. Go in. The Mother Parasol Tree turned its head and said, before walking in with large strides, "You bastard." She had to find the 3rd alliance master who had sold them out. After living for so long, this was the first time someone had evaluated her value. Seeing that the Mother Parasol Tree could not wait any longer, Lung Ruoxu gave Li Zhong and the rest a look, and they immediately split up. Lung Ruoxu followed the Mother Parasol Tree to deal with the 3rd alliance master. As for the eldest miss who had returned to the 3rd alliance, she left her to Li Zhong and the rest to deal with. She also sent her precious little beast to protect Li Zhong and the rest. When the 3 league masters saw Lung Ruoxu and the Parasol Tree once again, a look of surprise appeared on their faces. However, he immediately sensed that the 2 of them were different from before and probed. "Shui, I'm relieved that you're fine." "We're fine, but you're going to be in trouble." Lung Ruoxu smiled faintly. Ever since she left the courtyard, she had asked Green Vessel to keep an eye on the people from the Third and Fourth Alliances. The people who were originally in the courtyard had returned to the Third and Fourth Alliances. This was the time when the two alliances had the most people, so it was the best time to make a move. Shwet, or what do you mean by this? Are you jealous that I transferred you to the four alliance masters? I really think that it's better for you to follow him than me. The four alliances, financial resources are enough to cure your illness. In addition, when the courtyard was on fire, I also sent people to save you, but the houses where you lived were all burned to ashes. I thought you were also. I've been sad about this. The third alliance master said to Lung Ruoxue affectionately. Lung Ruoxue couldn't be bothered to look at the other party's Casanova-like appearance. With a look of disdain, she said, "Stop acting. We're not here to watch you act like you're deeply in love. Your actions are really disgusting. Then what are you here for?" The third alliance master didn't understand. He could tell that the two women in front of him didn't come with good intentions, but he didn't know why they did this. "I'm here to take revenge for my big brother and his subordinates." Lung Ruoxue did not hide it anymore. "I don't understand." The third alliance master was even more puzzled. Although he had done a lot of bad things, he really didn't remember offending the other party's subordinates. More importantly, weren't these two women gifts from the fifth master? Since it was a gift, it must be someone without power or support. So why would he have a subordinate? He didn't hear wrong, did he? "Who are you? What's wrong?" The third alliance master finally asked. "I'm Lung Ruoxue. Didn't you already guess it?" Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Hearing this, the third alliance master's heart skipped a beat. Oh no. The other party was actually Lung Ruoxue. It was hateful that he was actually tempted by the other party's beauty and dispelled such thoughts after a moment of suspicion. Now it was all good. What's done is done. He was afraid that the other party would not give him the chance to remedy it even if he wanted to. Chapter 2674. Does a puny divine emperor need my help? 1. After knowing the other party's true identity, the third alliance master felt like he was courting death. He deeply regretted that he had been so easily seduced by her beauty that he had believed the nonsense that she was not Lung Ruoxue. If he had probed more or investigated properly, he wouldn't have made such a low-level mistake. Alliance Master 3 was filled with regret. However, he wasn't in the mood to think about whether Alliance Master 5 had lied to him. Instead, he was racking his brain to think of ways to salvage his relationship with Lung Ruoxue. After thinking for a while, he frowned and said, "Since it's Miss Lung, then this one has offended you before. I apologize to you here. Is there any misunderstanding with us? I didn't see your brother or any of your subordinates. If I see them, I'll definitely treat them as distinguished guests. I hope that Miss Lung can rest assured on this." Rest assured? Can I be at ease? My brother and his subordinates fell into your hands and were forced to sign a slave contract. That's right. Although this matter was done by your precious daughter, it's the father's fault for not teaching the child well, so you can't escape responsibility for this matter. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. The way she looked at the third alliance master was rather unfriendly, and it also made his hair stand on end. Never in his dreams would he have thought that this goddess of killing's brother and subordinate would actually be forced to sign a slave contract, and it was even done by his incompetent daughter. Looking at the other party's confident appearance, it was clear that there was enough evidence, and there was no room for him to quibble. Or was this good? The third alliance master was deeply worried. He felt that the consequences of this matter were too serious. If they didn't handle it well, they might all lose their lives. What terrified him the most was that a woman who didn't even care about a divine master would care about these so-called ants. He even sold us out. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue seemed to have forgotten about this matter, the parasol tree mother reminded her. Yup, only today did I find out that I'm only worth 5 pieces of high-grade crystal stones. Third alliance master, do you have any thoughts on this? Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. No, it's not like I don't know your identity. You can't blame me for not knowing. The third alliance master said shamelessly. He couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. Woo! He felt like he was already half a step into hell. How could he be so unlucky to have provoked this fiend? Just because you said you didn't know, you can shirk responsibility for what you did? Then they'll cut you guys off first, and then you can say that I didn't do it on purpose? Lung Ruoshu asked with a half-smile. Ugh, how was he supposed to respond to this? The Third Alliance Master's forehead broke out in cold sweat. He finally understood how difficult it was to deal with Lung Ruoshu. In the past, he didn't really believe it when he heard it from others. Now that he had personally experienced it, he knew that it was impossible to let it go today. It was hard to say if he could even keep his life. Third Alliance Master, we didn't come here today to listen to you shirk responsibility. Lung Ruoshu saw that the other party did not say a word and continued. He knew that it was precisely because he knew that he was even more at a loss on how to save his little life. This was especially so when he had heard that Lung Ruoshu would never show mercy to her enemies. Although he could not be considered her enemy, he had clearly done something that crossed her line. The faint sounds of fighting could be heard from outside. He knew that someone had already started a fight. Just as the Third Alliance Master was racking his brains for a solution, the parasol tree said impatiently, Shweker, why are you talking so much nonsense with him? Hurry up and do it. Seeing that the parasol tree was getting anxious, Lung Ruoshu made a rather helpless expression and laughed evilly. As you can see, I've already given you a lot of time. Let's not waste each other's time. After taking care of you, I still have to deal with the leaders of the 4 alliances. He also has a share. Hearing that Alliance Master 4 was also involved, Alliance Master 3 miraculously felt better and decided to go all out. He had already crossed the other party's bottom line anyway, and it was obvious that there was no possibility of reconciliation from Lung Ruoshu's expression. Since that was the case, why was he still lowering his voice? Thinking of this, the Third Alliance Master's aura suddenly rose. He then shouted at the two, If you kill us, the Ascender Alliance will not let you off. Thanks, it doesn't matter. They'll kill you first. Lung Ruoshu was unconcerned. The moment she spoke, the Mother Parasol Tree did not want to listen to the other party's nonsense and charged forward. In just a moment, the other party had already lost his life, dying with grievances. Before he died, he didn't even have the time to struggle or call for help. Seeing that the Third Alliance Master had died so easily, the Parasol Tree Mother Tree was stunned for a moment, then said embarrassedly, I was a little too heavy-handed and let him off easy. Senior, he is only a high-level deity. Lung Ruoshu held her forehead speechlessly. With their strength, they could kill these people in an instant. So, if they didn't want them to die too quickly, they could only treat them gently. Otherwise, it would be over. The Mother Parasol Tree put on an expression of being taught and promised seriously, Shweker, I will be careful in the future. Lung Ruoshu nodded and started a fire. Then, she pulled the Mother Parasol Tree to the other courtyard. That was where the Miss of the 3 Leagues lived. At this moment, with the help of his precious little beasts, Li Zhong and the others were having a great time taking their revenge. They killed many of the dogs from the 3 alliances, but only the young Miss of the 3 alliances was left to watch. The Lady of the 3 Leagues that Lung Ruoshu saw was considered a beauty. Her small face was filled with fear and disbelief. Her body trembled like a fallen leaf, and her face was so pale that she looked like she would faint at any moment. However, Baby's little beasts surrounded her and insisted that she take a good look at the miserable state of her subordinates. If she didn't cooperate or watch carefully, Baby would use a rusty silver needle as thick as a chopstick to stab the big Miss of the 3 Leagues. In this short period of time, Lung Ruoshu had already heard a few howls that sounded like pigs being slaughtered. Seeing Lung Ruoshu and the Parasol Tree approach, Baby immediately jumped happily to Lung Ruoshu's side after stabbing the Miss of the 3 Leagues. He shouted happily, Cute master, you've come. Baby, this needle? Lung Ruoshu blinked her eyes. This needle looked a little familiar. Hee. It was abandoned by my master, and I picked it up. Now it's finally put to good use. This is much better than a dagger, and it's also more painful. Baby laughed evilly. Lung Ruoshu didn't know what to say. The Mother Parasol Tree patted her baby's fluffy little head excitedly and praised, Baby, you're so smart and know how to save money. You've made good use of this waste. Hee hee. After being praised, Baby became more and more proud. At the same time, Li Zhong and the rest had already worked together to eliminate the last guard of the three alliances. They walked quickly to Lung Ruoxu's side and said excitedly, "Shue, or this is really too satisfying." They were having a great time fighting. Although they usually worked together, as long as they could get revenge for themselves, who cared if it was a group fight or not? Chapter 2675. Does a puny divine emperor need my help? 2. How do you plan to deal with the miss of the 3 leagues? Lung Ruoxue first nodded, then asked. Looking at the eldest miss of Sanming's expression, there was a trace of unwillingness in her fear. It was obvious that she had a deep resentment toward her situation. Such a person could not be allowed to live. Fortunately, Li Zhong and the rest had already discussed this beforehand. He smiled evilly at Lung Ruoxue and said, "Let's make her a slave contract first. Then, we'll let her experience the various means she has imposed on us." After listening, before Lung Ruoxue could even nod her head, she heard the eldest miss of the 3 leagues wailing. "You can't do this to me. I'm a young lady of the 3 leagues. The Ascender Alliance will not let you off." Sanming's young miss shouted herself hoarse. She still didn't know how things had turned out like this. He was clearly her slave, but how did he become the master of the house in the blink of an eye? Not only that, but he also brought a few fiendish beasts to seek revenge. The people of the 3 leagues couldn't even withstand a single move from him. Such a fact was really too tragic. She could not understand. However, no one cared after she shouted. Li Zhong was even more impatient as he slapped her and shouted, "You're no longer the lady of the 3 leagues. You're just our prisoner." After being slapped, the lady of the 3 leagues saw stars and was forced to accept the truth. She signed a slave contract with Luo Fei as her representative. After the contract was completed, the young miss of the 3 leagues was free. Although the succubi would no longer stare at her as if she was a criminal, the young miss still did not escape their sight. What made them even more speechless was that the big miss of the 3 alliances, who was a slave, had actually not given up and had actually used a beauty trap on Luo Fei. This really made everyone not know whether to laugh or cry. Luo Fei, on the other hand, was both embarrassed and angry, his face alternating between green and white. He fully fulfilled his duty as a master and severely punished her. At this point, the big miss of the 3 leagues finally became well-behaved for the time being. The listless miss of the 3rd league was then brought to the 4th league for her to continue watching. As Lung Ruoxue and the rest had acted swiftly in the 3 leagues and destroyed the corpses thoroughly, the 4 leagues had no idea what was going on in the 3 leagues. This made Lung Ruoxue and the rest's actions much more convenient. After using the same method to get rid of the 4 alliances and leaving behind the 4 alliance masters, Lung Ruoxue burned down all the buildings in the 4 alliances. Then, everyone left. As for the 4 alliance masters, they were treated the same way as the ladies of the 3 alliances. They were all forced to sign slave contracts, and the beneficiary of their slaves was Li Zhong. "Shue, where are we going?" Li Zhong asked calmly after leaving the Ascender Alliance's territory. Having gotten their revenge, they had never felt so relaxed before. "Of course, we're going to raid the guild that's doing quests," Lung Ruoxue said calmly. She had tasted the sweetness of the Bamboo City Quest Guild, so she didn't want to let the other quest guilds in the godly mainland go. Wuhan's business was really profitable. It was simply a business without capital. She must rob the other party so that Wuhan would not benefit. She had so many people to feed, and the construction of Demon City was a bottomless pit. Without money, she couldn't do anything. With this thought in mind, she felt that the Robbery Mission Guild was a matter of course. In order to reunite the Luo family, the members of the Luo family, who had originally planned to go into seclusion, were awakened. Now that they heard that they were going to be robbed, they immediately became excited. After living for so long, there were not many opportunities for them to openly rob others. "Thanks, Master. Can we join in?" Luo Lin pleaded with an embarrassed look, his sparkling eyes filled with desire and anticipation. "You're only allowed to look, no talking," Lung Ruoxue requested. In fact, even if Luo Lin didn't say so, she would still let them participate. After all, this was definitely a good opportunity to increase their knowledge. Yes, we'll just watch and not talk," Luo Lin promised like an obedient baby. In the following time, Lung Ruoxue was like a spinning top, bringing a large group of people to wander around the various cities in the Divine Realm. Wherever they went, the guild masters of the mission guilds would not be able to avoid becoming their own people. Those who were tactful were accepted as Lung Ruoxue's subordinates, while those who were insensible became Li Zhong and the other servants. Everyone worked together and earned a lot of money. Soon, all the guilds that were responsible for quests on the godly continent had fallen. Every guild leader would be so depressed when they were first captured that they wanted to buy a piece of tofu and kill themselves. However, after they knew that they were not the only ones who were like this, they all felt balanced in their hearts and even formed feelings for each other. After all, in the future, when a master changed, they had to perform even better. From this, the chairman of Ing City's Mission Guild, President Pu, finally knew who the woman he was after was. Lung Ruoxue. It was actually the famous Lung Ruoxue. Why didn't he ask for her name in the first place? Otherwise, he would never have provoked that fiend. Sob. It was too late to say anything now. What's done is done. President Pu was filled with regret. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. No matter how much he regretted, it would be of no use. With a heart filled with grief and indignation, he decided to collect the appearance of all the experts in the divine realm that he couldn't afford to offend. He had offended Lung Ruoxue, and he was at a disadvantage because he didn't know her appearance. Actually, President Pu couldn't be blamed for being blind. After all, the Quest Association belonged to the Divine Master's residence. They would never have thought that the other party would set their sights on the Divine Master's residence. Moreover, Wu Qing wouldn't have instructed his subordinates to guard against Lung Ruoxue. If that was the case, wouldn't it be him being afraid of Lung Ruoxue? The prideful fog would never do such a thing. Such a result naturally benefited Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue had earned quite a fortune on the Divine Mainland. In addition to the wealth she had obtained from the Alliance 3 and 4, she truly felt that robbing was a good way to get rich quickly. She even had the thought of setting up a bandit organization and robbing the entire Divine Realm. Of course, it was just a plan. She didn't have any thoughts of offending the entire Divine Realm. If people didn't offend her, she wouldn't offend them. This was still her principle in life. However, once he offended her, she would definitely be very petty and take revenge. After settling the matters on the Divine Mainland, Lung Ruoxue planned to bring them back to the Divine World. At this moment, Li Zhong and the others finally realized that they wouldn't be living in the godly mainland. When they first heard this news, Li Zhong and the others were stunned for a long time. When they finally came back to their senses, they were all speechless and didn't know how to react. This matter was really too stimulating. Even Shui had gone to the Divine Realm. It had only been a few years. However, Li Zhong and the others' mental fortitude wasn't bad. They quickly adjusted their mental state and looked at Lung Ruoxue as if she was their idol. Even Lung Ruoxue, who thought she was very thick-skinned, felt a little embarrassed. Chapter 2676. Does a puny divine emperor need my help? 3. In order to hide the awkwardness in her heart, Lung Ruoxue immediately moved everyone into her house. Then, she and the Mother Parasol tree teleported to the transfer array to the God World. On the way, the Mother Parasol tree noticed the strange expression on Lung Ruoxue's face and could not help but ask curiously, "Shui, what's wrong?" The Alliance Masters of the 5 Alliances sent me a message. They said that the Ascender Alliance of the Divine Realm already knows what we have done. Lung Ruoxue replied calmly, "Oh, so what if he knew? What can they do to us?" The Mother Parasol tree said disapprovingly, "The powers that Shui possessed were enough to contend against the Ascender Alliance. Therefore, they could do whatever they wanted in the divine realm. You can't do anything to us. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly and followed the parasol tree into the teleportation formation. After a moment of dizziness, he arrived at the god realm. Just as Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree stepped out of the transmission array, they were surrounded by a group of fiendish-looking people before they could step out of the light circle. These people were made up of both men and women. Of course, men made up the majority. Furthermore, all of their faces were burning with anger. Their eyes were even spitting fire as they glared at Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue remained calm and said, "Is there something?" She pretended to be stupid as she asked, while observing the strength of these people. Oh, there were more than 100 deity emperors, and most of the others were at the deity king level. There were more than 1,000 of them in total. Lung Ruoxue, we've always minded our own business, but you actually attacked our Ascender Alliance. He's really too much. One of the deity emperors spoke as the representative of his side. My principle is that if others don't offend me, I won't offend them. Not only did your Ascender Alliance capture my brother and subordinates, but you also forced them to sign a slave contract. How can I not avenge them? Lung Ruoxue sneered as she questioned. The other emperor was speechless and couldn't help but argue. Then you just have to kill the person responsible. Why did you destroy the third and fourth alliances? Wild grass grows again when the spring breeze blows. Do you think he'll give them a chance to take revenge on me? Lung Ruoxue said in disdain. According to your logic, you still have to get rid of us? A certain emperor thought he had caught onto Lung Ruoxue's faulty wording. Lung Ruoxue smiled calmly and said, "Originally, I could treat the Ascender Alliance of the Divine Realm and the Ascender Alliance of the Divine Continent as two different things. However, if you all insist on coming to me to seek revenge, I don't have much of an opinion." Her casual and nonchalant attitude had thoroughly angered the Ascender Alliance. Even though they had long heard of Lung Ruoxue's strength, they had not had much contact with her in the firmament and naturally had not experienced it for themselves. Thus, none of them had expected that Lung Ruoxue would be even more arrogant than the legends had said. Oomph. One arrogant girl. Suddenly, an angry roar sounded in everyone's ears. Everyone couldn't help but turn around. When they saw that it was their vice president, they quickly said respectfully, "Greetings, Your Excellency Zhang Yi." After saying that, they automatically opened up a path for the furious man. This Zhang Miao was one of the vice presidents of the Ascender Alliance. He had just advanced to Reverend God level not long ago. This was the time when he was the most arrogant and proud of himself. Hence, he looked at Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree with a strong sense of disdain. Originally, he had only come to support and encourage the Ascender Alliance. In his opinion, the Ascender Alliance had sent enough people to deal with a woman, so he had no intention of showing himself. However, after listening to Lung Ruoxue's words, the anger in his heart was completely aroused. In his eyes, this brat was someone who needed to be taught a lesson. Hence, he decided to personally take action and teach Lung Ruoxue a lesson. At the same time, he wanted to let her know that it was best for an Ascender who had just arrived not long ago to not go against the Ascender Alliance, even if she had the Ning family as her backing. Of course, he had no intention of killing Lung Ruoxue. After all, he knew that he could not afford to offend the Ning family, a native with a strong foundation. However, Lung Ruoxue was too infuriating, and he had to teach her a lesson. With such thoughts in mind, he looked at Lung Ruoxue with an unfriendly gaze. Today, they had to make Lung Ruoxue give the Ascender Alliance an explanation. Otherwise, wouldn't outsiders think that their Ascender Alliance was afraid of a little girl? However, Lung Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree were not surprised by the reverent god's appearance because they had already noticed his existence. It was just that he did not show himself, so they were kind enough not to expose him. However, now that he had appeared, they obviously could not reject his good intentions. "Stinky girl, I will not let you off today." Seeing that the two beautiful women in the circle of light were still as calm as before, Zhang Miao became even more furious. However, the self-righteous him attributed this to the fact that the other party did not know his identity, or else he would not have dared to be so casual. Thanks, I know. Lung Ruashua nodded. The mother parasol tree did not even give him a look of pity. She thought to herself, a little fellow who has just advanced to reverent god level is here to show off in front of me. The world has really changed. Do you know who I am? Seeing that the other party wasn't curious about his identity, Zhang Miao couldn't take it anymore and asked directly, "What does your identity have to do with me? I only need to know that you are a member of the Ascender Alliance." Lung Ruoshu said indifferently, clearly uninterested in his identity. "I am the vice president of the Ascender Alliance." Zhang Yu was furious. Seeing that Lung Ruoshua wasn't the least bit curious about him, he could only expose himself. However, after he said this, Lung Ruoshua still gave him face and didn't let him down. She looked at him and sighed softly before saying, "You just became the vice president, right? How did you know? I thought you didn't know who I was." Zhang Miao looked at Lung Ruoshua with a face full of questions. "I can tell just by looking at you. If you're not a new official, how can you be so angry? Calm down. Don't be impatient. We'll do whatever you want." Lung Ruoshua was all smiles as she spoke in an extremely understanding manner. When the parasol tree heard Lung Ruoshua's words, it could not help but burst out laughing. Instantly, Zhang Miao's old face turned red. Even though he was a little high profile, he wasn't a fool. How could he not tell that the woman beside Lung Ruoshua was laughing at him? In an instant, his anger surged and he fired at the mother parasol tree. "What are you laughing at? You'll be crying soon." "I see. Then let's not waste everyone's time. Let's do it." The mother parasol tree rubbed her fists in anticipation. She had not had a good battle for a long time and was in fact a violent person. Now that she had a supreme god as her opponent, she was naturally more than happy to have him. Although this reverent god was a little stupid, it was better than nothing. Her straightforward attitude of wanting to start a fight stunned Zhang Yi. It looked like the other party was not just arrogant. He was a reverent god. However, the woman before him was only a god king, clearly inferior to him. The contrast made him feel a little lost. Why was this so? Didn't they know that he was a reverent god? The more he thought about it, the more Zhang Miao felt that this was possible. However, this thought also made him feel a lot more at ease. At least in his eyes, the woman in front of him was an arrow at the end of its flight. In reality, it was normal for him to not be able to see through the mother parasol tree's abilities. That was because the mother parasol tree had learned from Shui when they were in the divinity and had hidden her abilities very well. Now that the other party could not see through it, she would naturally not reveal it on her own accord. "Vice President Zhang, are we going to fight?" The mother parasol tree saw that Zhang Yi was in a daze for a long time, not knowing what he was thinking about, so it had to ask again. "I will make you regret being so arrogant." In the face of provocation, as a man, Zhang Miao naturally would not let a woman look down on him. Moreover, he had just advanced to reverent god level and was in high spirits, so he had to maintain his lofty image and set a good example for his subordinates. Therefore, he took the blow. After being provoked like this, if he could still hold it in, was he still a man? The battle between the two of them started at once. When Lung Ruoshua saw this, she quickly took advantage of the gap between the two of them before they started fighting to ask, "You guys have found a good opponent? Then what about me?" She also wanted to spar with this godly venerable rank vice president. Okay? It was a pity that the mother parasol tree, who had not had enough fun in the godly mainland, did not want to give her a chance. "Sob, isn't this bullying?" Lung Ruoshua was rather worried about this. After hearing Lung Ruoshua's words, the mother parasol tree pretended to be dumb and did not say a word. Zhang Miao, on the other hand, said arrogantly, "You will naturally be taught a lesson by my subordinates. Does a puny divine emperor need my help?" All right. She knew that she was being looked down upon. Although she really wanted to say that the mother parasol tree's strength seemed to be inferior to her on the surface, she still felt a little embarrassed. However, she gave up after thinking about it. Since someone was seeking death, why should she be kind? The mother parasol tree gave Lung Ruoxue an apologetic look before she started her lightning-like attack. She and Zhang Miao quickly engaged in battle. In order not to be affected by the reverent god-level battle, both the Ascender Alliance and Lung Ruoxue had a tacit understanding to give up their positions, while they all retreated to a relatively wide area on the other side. Glancing at the battle not far away, Lung Ruoxue tried her best to shift the attention of the Ascender Alliance's members from the battle to her. Since a battle is unavoidable, let's not waste any more time, she said. Chapter 2677. Not using divine power doesn't count as a win. 1. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the Ascender Alliance's people who were originally watching the show could not help but chuckle. Lung Ruoxue was puzzled when she heard that. What was the meaning of their wretched laughter? Was he looking down on her? At this moment, the Emperor God, who represented the Ascendants, answered her question. Lung Ruoxue, although I've heard that you're quite powerful, there's no need for all of us to go all out to deal with you. Just me alone is enough. The Emperor who spoke had the air of an expert. As he spoke, he deliberately looked down at Lung Ruoxue, putting on a high and mighty attitude. The meaning expressed by his red eyes was clear. He didn't care about Lung Ruoxue at all. In his heart, he really didn't take Lung Ruoxue seriously. Even though there were many rumors about how powerful Lung Ruoxue was, it was still a false rumor. Without seeing it with their own eyes, the feeling would always be worse. Furthermore, the Emperor God's position in the Ascender Alliance was not low. He was also the leader of the 3 alliances of the Ascender Alliance. The father and daughter of the 3 alliances' leader, who had been killed by Lung Ruoxue, were close friends with him. Thus, when he saw Lung Ruoxue, it was as if he was meeting his enemy. He was extremely envious. This was especially so in front of so many people from the Ascender Alliance. A certain divine emperor, who wanted to perform well, hoped to use Lung Ruoxue to establish his might. One must know that after Zhang Miao was promoted to the Ascender Alliance's vice president, his position as an elder had been left empty. He had been coveting that position for a long time and even regarded it as something in his pocket. If he could make a big splash in the limelight during Lung Ruoxue's incident, then the empty position of an elder would basically not be able to escape. This time, it was his and the 4 Alliance Masters' idea to gather the people to teach Lung Ruoxue a lesson. He knew that the leaders of the 4 alliances also had their eyes on that position. Hence, according to his plan, they had to deal with the famous Lung Ruoxue first. After all, making the first move meant that they had the upper hand. Otherwise, wouldn't it be equivalent to giving such a good opportunity to others? He also wanted to let everyone see how Lung Ruoxue, who was unparalleled in the firmament and whose name was like thunder to everyone, would be defeated by him. She was just a woman. No matter how powerful she was, how powerful could she be? This wasn't just his inner voice. Many people in the Ascender Alliance basically thought the same. This included his competitors. After he said that he wanted to deal with Lung Ruoxue, the other divine emperor interrupted anxiously. How can we do that? Lung Ruoxue is our common enemy. How can you let yourself get away with it? Needless to say, the one who spoke was the leader of the 4 alliances. However, after he expressed his thoughts, the Emperor God from before calmly said, "Why are you so anxious? You'll have your chance. I'm the leader of the 3 alliances, and am ranked before you, so it's only natural that I should make the first move." These words seemed so reasonable that no one could refute them, but the leader of the 4 alliances was enraged. He was so angry that he couldn't stop cursing in his heart. Fuck, you made the first move, so how could I still have a chance? He also felt that Lung Ruoxue shouldn't be hard to deal with, so he wouldn't be willing to let his archenemy make the first move. After the other party made a move, it meant that his chance to perform was taken away. Now was the crucial period for the competition to become an elder of the General Alliance. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? Therefore, avenging the 3 and 4 alliances of the godly mainland was pure nonsense. In their hearts, revenge was important, but it was nothing compared to becoming an elder of the General Union. Now, their priority was to fight for Lung Ruoxu's right to fight. Before the battle had even begun, the Ascender Alliance had already begun to stir up trouble. Most of the Ascender Alliance's people present were from the Third and Fourth Alliances. A small number of them were foreign aid they had invited to help in the battle. The people from the Third and Fourth Alliances were clear about their Alliance Master's thoughts and naturally sided with him. Hence, while the 3 and 4 Alliances leaders were in a heated argument to deal with Lung Ruoxu, the other members of the 3 and 4 Alliances were also in a heated battle. The first was a scolding battle. All kinds of curses spewed out from the mouths of both sides, and spittle flew everywhere. The faces of those who participated in the curse battle were all red, fully displaying their excited mood at this time. Then, the scolding battle escalated to a fight. Even before they started fighting with Lung Ruoxu, the Ascender Alliance's internal department had already started fighting fiercely. There was even blood. Thanks Lung Ruoxu, who was watching from the side, as well as Li Zhong and the others who witnessed this from their house, were all dumbfounded and in disbelief when they saw this dramatic scene. What was going on? Lung Ruoxu looked on in a daze. She could not help but wipe the cold sweat off her forehead. Of course, she was not frightened by the other party's vicious methods, but you understand. She turned to look at the Mother Parasol Tree and Zhang Miao, who were still fighting, and then turned back to look at the two sides who were in a chaotic battle. She deeply felt that compared to the normal battle at the Mother Parasol Tree's side, what was happening in front of her was simply a farce. Didn't he want to fight her? Why can they kill each other? When both sides of the chaotic battle had already used their weapons, Lung Ruoxu was drenched in sweat. How deep was the enmity between the two alliances? Blinking her eyes, Lung Ruoxu looked innocently at the people on both sides of the chaotic battle falling into a pool of blood before she decisively called for a stop. In fact, it wasn't that she was too kind. It was just that both sides had lost their minds. Even a small number of onlookers had joined the chaotic battle to help their friends. Many people had been injured. If she didn't call for a stop, she would probably be out of the picture later. This can't do. She couldn't be an audience member for nothing. All of you stop, Lung Ruoxu shouted with a sense of justice. Instantly, not only did both sides stop fighting, even the Mother Parasol Tree and Zhang Miao, who heard the commotion, stopped instinctively. Even though the two of them did not know why Lung Ruoxu had asked them to stop, when they saw the scene not far away, their expressions were exactly the same as Lung Ruoxu's. This, Shui, the Mother Parasol Tree called out softly. She did not know what to say. You bunch of idiots. Zhang Miao, on the other hand, was extremely furious and directly shouted at the top of his lungs. Senior, I didn't ask you to stop. Please continue. Please continue. Lung Ruoxu turned around in embarrassment when she heard their voices. All right, but be careful. Swords have no eyes. Don't get caught up in their battle. The Mother Parasol Tree warned worriedly. Her words were clearly adding fuel to the fire, making Zhang Miao almost explode with anger. However, before Zhang Miao could do anything, the Mother Parasol Tree's attack had already reached him, forcing him to fight with 120,000% of his energy. You bastard! How could this woman be so powerful? Zhang Miao was very depressed, but the battle continued. On Lung Ruoxu's side. Chapter 2678. Not using divine power doesn't count as a win, too. It was only after the crowd was called to a halt that they realized what had happened. To be honest, they didn't expect the battle to escalate. They only deeply regretted it after the battle. Fuck, he had actually forgotten the important matter. Not only that, they even let Lung Ruoxu watch the show and laugh at them. The most infuriating thing was that their battle had been called to a stop, and it was all thanks to Lung Ruoxu that they were able to avoid a major disaster. In an instant, everyone's hearts were filled with all kinds of gloominess and entanglement. He had never felt this way before, and it was unbearable. Everyone's face turned even redder. Lung Ruoxu blinked her eyes and put on an innocent smile. What's wrong? Why are you fighting? Aya, your face is as red as a monkey's, but... After she finished speaking, She even deliberately covered her mouth to laugh, making everyone so angry that one Buddha was born and two Buddhas rose to heaven. All of them seemed to be so angry that smoke was about to come out of their bodies. After she was done laughing, she said guiltily, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at you. But I still want to say that killing each other is the worst thing to do. It will affect unity." "You bastard! Who's killing each other?" The leader of the four alliances, who had a bad temper, was the first to speak up. "You don't have any?" The evidence was still on him. "You can't lie with your eyes open." Lung Ruoxu's expression became even more innocent. After hearing what she said, the alliance masters of the four alliances felt their electricity run out. They could only glare at Lung Ruoxu with a face full of hatred. Their gazes were like those of a venomous snake, causing one to tremble in fear. Lung Ruoxu was glared at like a venomous snake, but her face did not turn red and her heart did not skip a beat. She merely glanced at the other party indifferently and asked, "Be a good baby, understand? Come, now tell Big Sister, why did you kill each other?" These words made everyone speechless. The gloominess in their hearts deepened, especially when they saw the other party calling herself Big Sister. Did she have to be so shameless? Whose sister are you? Who has a sister like you who gloats at others' misfortune? Everyone couldn't help but secretly praise him. "Little girl, have you seen enough? Don't waste any more time. I'm going to deal with you now." The leader of the three alliances, Hua, roared. It was too embarrassing. He had never been so embarrassed in his life, especially in front of his opponent. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxu smiled faintly and said in a wrong tone, "I don't think I'm the one wasting time. Good, it's me. It's US, all right. Let's start fighting now." The alliance masters of the three alliances were furious and roared. Lung Ruoxu nodded her head in satisfaction. "Come on." However, Alliance Master 4 was not satisfied. Seeing that the two were about to attack, he quickly stopped them and said angrily, "Why should I let you go first? I'm going to make the first move. Do you still want the other party to laugh at us?" The Alliance Master of the Third Alliance gritted his teeth. He had just realized that the Alliance Master of the Fourth Alliance was even more shameless than him. Hearing this, although the four alliances' leaders hesitated, they still straightened their necks and shouted, "I don't care, I'm going to make the first move." "Don't snatch. There's still a chance. It doesn't matter who makes the first move." Lung Ruoxu smiled and became the peacemaker. When the alliance masters of the three alliances heard this, their faces darkened. "Thanks, fuck. What the hell is this?" The two of them were fighting for the right to make the first move, but the other party became the good guy. At this moment, he had never felt so depressed before. "I'll let you make the first move, all right?" The alliance masters of the three alliances had surrendered. If they continued to argue with this idiot, the Ascender Alliance would lose all its face before the fight even started. It could be said that compared to the four alliance masters, he still had some brains and had not completely lost his mind. Otherwise, he would not have been able to become the alliance master of the Third Alliance and forcibly suppress the four alliance masters. As for the fourth alliance master, who had been holding back for a long time, when he heard that the third alliance master had given in, he was like a rooster who had won a battle, holding his head high and gnashing his teeth in hatred. "Little girl, your opponent is me." The leaders of the four alliances emphasized this before the battle. "I know. In fact, you guys can attack together," Lung Ruoxu suddenly suggested. "No." Two opposing voices rang out at the same time. Lung Ruoxu was puzzled. Why not? Wouldn't they have a better chance of winning if they attacked together? How could she know that the two in front of her were treating her as a stepping stone to climb up the ladder and wanted to step on her to get to the top? "Then let's do it one by one." Seeing that she couldn't figure it out, Lung Ruoxu didn't want to. Originally, she had wanted to let her babies out to practice their claws, but since the other party wanted to come one by one, it seemed that they didn't need to show themselves. However, her precious little beasts were very smart. After they sensed Lung Ruoxu's thoughts, they transmitted their voices to her and begged, "Master, let us go out and join in the fun. We promise we won't use our claws. We'll just watch the battle up close and feel the atmosphere." All right." Lung Ruoxue was speechless, trying to feel the atmosphere, to think they could come up with such an excuse. However, since her own beast had a request, as its master, she naturally had to do her best to satisfy it. Thus, with a thought, a few little beasts were moved out. After thinking about it, Li Zhong and the others were also moved out. Let's just experience the atmosphere of the venue together. Lung Ruoxu's movements, when she moved everyone out of the house, were extremely smooth. However, when the Ascender Alliance members saw so many people suddenly appear beside her, they were all stunned. Although the other party didn't have many people, it was enough to make them dumbfounded, because they had no idea where these people had come from. They're my godbrother and my subordinates. I didn't ask them to come out to fight with you. I just wanted them to experience the divine realm. They're not going to join the battle. Seeing that the other party was very surprised, Lung Ruoxue was afraid that they would misunderstand, so she quickly explained. Li Zhong was even more cooperative as he echoed, and we'll only watch. We won't participate in the battle. Although he said that, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Could he say that it was also very dangerous for them to watch the battle? In a mobile house, just now, their darling, that quick-tongued little fellow, had already told them about the strength of these people. They were all existences that they could not catch up with even if they tried to, and they had to look up to. Although it was very rare for them to watch a battle between experts up close with their strength, when this rare action was accompanied by danger, they didn't feel so good. However, it was hard to get off after riding a tiger, and they couldn't let Shui Air's name be tarnished. Now that things had come to this, they had to continue watching. With this thought in mind, although Li Zhong and the others were somewhat worried, they didn't show it on their faces. After hearing their explanation, the 4 Alliance Masters couldn't help but ask, where did they come from? They've been staying in my house. Lung Ruoxue spoke bluntly and didn't hide anything at all. When Li Zhong and the rest saw that she had exposed this big secret, they were all extremely worried. Sure enough, after listening to the story, the eyes of the 3rd and 4th Alliance Masters simultaneously shot out a green light of greed. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.